Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, for the second week in a row because some other co-host just can't be bothered. It's Tyler. What's up,
Mm.
buddy?
Hey man, I've got a number of weeks to make up for. I mean, to be fair.
That's
So
I
yeah,
suppose that's true.
yeah, working my dead off here.
Hey, we're glad to have you, and also joining us for the first time, uh, someone who is very, very busy getting ready for a heck of a tournament that's going to be run this weekend that we are going to talk about, the Lonestar GT. Matt, how you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys. Long time listener.
Mhm.
Hey, we're glad to have you. So, coming up sooner than I'm sure. I mean, maybe Matt. Let me ask this question: how ready are you for this weekend? How ready are you? You sweating a little, or are you feeling good?
You know, it's the calm before the storm. I am a seasoned TO at this point. After a number of years running multiple GTs with lots of participants, I've learned the art and skill of preparation, and you are going to be shooting yourself in the head early on in your TO career because you're going to be painting terrain last minute. You're going to think of all these random things at the last second. I've made checklists. I've got Google Sheets on lock. We've got all our ducks in a row. So this is the first year and probably the first major GT I can remember where I don't have a mountain of things to do within the last 48 hours. But nevertheless, it'll come to fruition. Something will pop up. There will be a problem. We'll roll with the punches.
First of all, I love it. Prior planning prevents poor performance. The 5 Ps to live by. Absolutely fantastic. That must be why this show is never that good. Okay, so with that, let's jump into the news. Tyler, what do we got this week?
Another 40K image looks like. Apparently, this might be Grey Knights. That's
Yeah,
what I'm hearing.
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
So
it looks
probably
it looks
just-
actually quite nicely painted. I like the effects on the metal. Good job, whoever painted this thing. I think you did a really really great job. So. Just want to say that I have to I like sometimes I'm kind of mean not to the painting but to the scale they shoot this at, but whoever did this, molto bene.
You,
Well done, well
you
done.
could have just ended the. Sometimes I'm kind of mean. You could have just had a period there.
Also true.
Okay. Regiments of renown. So
well, hold on. That's not the order I've got this in.
I'm
I
jumping the
wrote these
gun.
in an
I'm
order,
jumping the
Tyler.
gun.
I wrote these
I'm
in
not
an
paying
order.
attention. I've got my order, Vince.
Sure. Now we've got to talk about the other surprise first.
Absolutely.
Caradron Overlords. Now we had strongly suspected this was going to be the case, right? Once we saw the updated roadmap. Yeah, we talked about this on the show. It might not have been a week you were here, but when they did the updated roadmap and said, "Hey, it's Seraphon," after LVO, and then they snuck it into that summer position or late spring or whatever we're calling it now. It's the June position. We know when you're releasing the book. Stop playing. Stop playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when they did that, all of a sudden the order book in late winter, early spring, whatever, March, went up in the air, right? And it was suddenly literally hot. And the question was, oh my goodness, are we going to get that KO book sooner? Did they crack the code?
Too many puns.
Man, I'll tell you what, we are on a roll here tonight. And it turns out they did. So we're going to get Caradron Overlords, but not just the book. Also, we get representation of your average Warhammer player, circa 2023, carrying all of the different tomes and references you need to currently play the game.
I think it's more like a 40K player than us. I think we got a little bit easier than they do.
We do.
Absolutely.
All right, so Matt, what do you think of KO in general? You excited for the new book? What do you think of this guy? Hit me with some opinions, some takes here.
KO has always seemed to be the book that's overly complicated and uses schemes, rules, and army builds that don't quite correlate with the rest of AOS. I hope that they get it right this time. I hope they make the boats more significant in a way where they can actually stay on the board and don't just maybe fly around or have no ability to tank anything. I'm not going to hold my breath. Let's put it that way. I don't know if they got it right, but we shall see.
Absolutely. Tyler, what's your hopes and dreams for KO?
Oh, goodness. Maybe A little more variety.
Okay.
Always a big fan of variety.
Yep.
That is not. I mean, obviously they have had a distinct play style from the beginning, essentially. Going back to the clown car, it seems like that's mostly followed through with the Purple Sun, with the latest incarnation. Yeah, a little more variety in the builds would be nice. I mean, that's the main thing that I want to see. As always, I'm a simple man when it comes to this stuff, dude. Give me some variety. Give me some Highlander lists that are viable. I'm happy.
Right on. My hope is that this book is really, really good, because then it would make me do an army project, namely convert all the Leagues of
Sure.
Votann stuff I have over to KO. And I'm just looking for an excuse to paint a bunch of stuff. So fingers crossed. All right. So we'll see. Obviously, we'll, review it when it comes out. Probably not too long in the future, I imagine, given how they were talking about it. So we'll see. I am sad we didn't get more models. There's so much room to expand in this range.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like not that surprising. We knew most of the books this year were going to be, a hero in a book, a hero in a book, a hero in a book. So there you go.
Like I mentioned before the show, such a missed opportunity. Code Right, I think you'll find that should have said "to be fair," because this is literally Tom's model on the battlefield. Him and his rules lawyering and finding every little nook and cranny on how to break the rules to his benefit. This is Tom right here. God bless him. Yeah, so excited.
Absolutely.
And
Now the other big news.
see, I forget you have slides because I'm leaning into Tom's role here this week.
Sure.
Regiments of Renown. All right, we got 6 of these boxes. They're bringing it back. The thing that I think a lot of us loved back in the day. I know you're a big fan of this, right, Vince?
I've talked about Regiments of Renown and the Dogs of War many times. But, where I thought they really stood apart and were great were when they, what I loved about them, and like, I get it. It's, you can't really do this as much anymore. But
I'm hearing some negativity coming. I'm ready.
You're asking for my opinion. I'm going to give it to you.
You're going to be mean. I'm ready.
I'm not. What I loved about it was that the units were unique, right? That they represented something and gave unique sculpts. Now, certainly I expect these people will have unique rules. Like, I don't think they're just naming the box. I think that, as they said in the article, like, there'll be, unique elements to what's going on here.
Yep.
But it's cool. Obviously, they regiment within their factions. They're effectively like super allies, right? So like the top one, the Sylvaneth Elthwin's Thorns. So the Archrev and his butterfly boys. They can go into any order army, right? Okay, and so on and so forth down the line. With 2 order, 2 chaos, 1 death, 1 destruction.
You think these are competitive aspects? Do you think that the boxes that they're releasing here will see play? It's hard to know, I guess, based on the rules that they've sent us so far.
Yeah, isn't that the question, right?
Interesting to see that like armies like OBR now have an ally that can stick in their army, things like that, where we had no access before.
I mean, hey, welcome back, Sons of Bahamut. You've got an ally now. You can take Big Grick's cruel shots. That's exciting, however much that's going to be. On one hand, right, this is an interesting way to do these kinds of universal allies, because you have to take this battalion. They explained that in there, right? So there's like this battalion you have that's a unified 1-drop battalion called Regiment of Renown. So by default, it will increase your drops, right? Like you can't bat reg your whole army or whatever, because it's just going to, but by 1, I should state, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then, so there's some amount of points not going into anything else, like a warlord or a whatever. They can obviously control the rules. I liked, by the way, that they said the rules are going to be in White Dwarf, but we're also going to publish them on the site for free.
Yeah.
Okay. A+, yes, thank you. Please don't lock rules for things behind a dumb White Dwarf paywall. Like, stop it. It's 2023. I appreciate you still have a magazine publishing arm, but like, come on, folks. Okay. I'm not hitting up the newsstand to pick up my latest comics. See what's going on in the papers. So like they could be balanced and interesting. How many points are they? How different are they? What's the ability? What I'll say, Matt, is I feel like this could very easily break either direction. To me, it's somewhat the Incarnate problem, where it was like, okay, either this thing is too good and shows up way too much, right? Where it's just like everybody suddenly has Elfwin's thorns. Every Order army you see, or, not really every, we're always being hyperbolic, but, if 5 or 6 out of 10 Order armies put Elfwin's thorns on the table, that's a problem. You're just like, okay, yep, those guys again. Got it. Sure. Right.
Right. And I think for the most part, I don't think anybody's been a huge fan of universal aspects, whether it be artifacts, incarnate problem, anything certain armies can take, and stay outside their normal play style, and give them a leg up, or like you said, just have one that's way overpowered, then everybody takes it, so you see it in every list. Tends to, I don't know, kind of a feel bad. It's something that doesn't make the game more unique; it just makes it more uniform.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially you look at the one that's the corpse cart and some zombies, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what that's bringing to the table for the other death armies, right? Like, what do Varamord's Shamblers add to the other death armies? OBR, maybe I guess some cheap throwaway troops because they don't really have anything that cheap. But Nighthaunt, no, we're covered on bodies, homie.
Right.
FEC ghouls. Have you seen these? Like they're exciting. So my point is, with those, I look at that. I look at the Hargax's pit beasts. And I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, you're going to make the thing. Look, I want Hargax's pit beasts to be cool enough that I want to put it in an army. But the chance that kitty cat, that Ogroid, and the Foamroid are good enough that they show up, that they get rules off of those base scrolls that make me want to play them, I see as very slim. So it's just... never used or used way too much is the thing I'm afraid of. And that they basically fall on each side of that spectrum. Yeah. Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
But I guess we'll see. Time will tell. Here's my question. Gentlemen, is this more testing for 4.0? Is this 4.0 beta testing?
Yeah, I could see that.
Good question. Yeah, I mean, I think anything is fair game at this point.
Yeah, like it feels to me like this could be some 4.0 beta testing, just like some of the rules we've been seeing in the GHBs, right? Where it's like, oh, here's another ally mercenary type of thing that right now is just like these 6 boxes, and it's just playing with these things, see how people like them. But if people like them, maybe they become a more formal system in in 4.0, because we've tried at the mercenaries before, and I think didn't work. So maybe it's like another bite at the apple to see if we can make it work this time, right? So I don't know, we'll see. Yeah. I'm also curious as to how they price these things.
Sure. Yeah, and is this going to be in addition to the ally pool? We're looking at up to 400 points of allies plus this, which I guess is what they're probably going to do. But yeah, anyway, we'll see.
I should also mention the Zinch one. It's got the endless spells in it.
Oh yeah, I missed that. 2 of them or all 3? All 3 of them. Oh,
all
wow.
3 of them. Yeah.
Wild. Okay. Ugh.
So like, does the Coven come with the 3 endless spells automatically? If so, that kind of scares me. But 2, what an interesting way to balance out putting 10 pinks in any army.
Sure.
Make them carry the water and the weight of 3 endless spells you'll probably never cast, because only that one guy can cast them if you bring them into other armies, right? So
presumably, yeah, maybe. TBD. All right. So I think that's it.
That's it. All right, cool. Let's move on. Let's do some pick o' the week. Matt, we'll start with you. Pick of the week. What do you want to share with everybody?
Yeah. So my boys down here in Texas, I guess one of them's actually in Seattle now. The Everchosen Podcast. I got to shout out to those guys. Let's go. Marco Hernandez and just Jeremy Cooper are my co-hosts, and we probably get on every 3 or 4 weeks or so and talk Warhammer less eloquently than you. But shout out to the Everchosen, and outside of that, we've got a great group of guys down here in Austin called the Weirdnobz, who run a YouTube and Twitch channel where they stream most of our grand tournaments as well as some test games. They just did a new Gits game a couple days ago, and they're great. Great commentary. They know what they're talking about. So shout out to the Weirdnobz and the Everchosen. And to be honest with you, Vince, shout out to you. 100,000 subscribers is no small feat, my friend. That took you, what, a couple weeks?
Yeah, just a couple. Yeah, exactly. We got there. 9 years, not a couple weeks. I mean, it depends how much you want to stretch a couple, I suppose. Like, there's a lot of weeks, but it's just still a couple.
Yeah, there you go.
In the span of the universe, I mean, a veritable blink of time, a nothing, right? Like 16.5 billion years. This is basically nothing. I was there instantaneously.
Yeah, you just sneezed a couple times in a few minutes, and look at that, 100,000 followers.
There you go. Yes, no, it was incredible. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody watching now. And hey, if you didn't sub, now's your chance to get on the road to 1 million. Let's do it. That's the next thing they hand out one of those little plaques for, by the way. It's like 100,000 and then 1 million, just so we're all clear. There's no other step in between. They really set the goals high. They want to make sure they're not just handing out a lot of plaques. They're pretty choosy with the plaques over there at YouTube. Anyways, Tyler, what do you want to share with everybody?
All right, Rob and company, Honest Wargamer, GHB 2023, Season 2, Tips and Tricks. Really good video that they came out with this week. Enjoyed the hell of it. Very on point with our discussion here tonight. Call to Arms. I think they're a Scottish YouTube battle report channel. Could be getting that wrong. Hopefully that's right. They had a great battle report. New Beast Chaos versus Fire Slayers. I think her name was Kara. She is an incredible Beast of Chaos player. Really knows her stuff. So yeah, enjoyed watching that one. You know, give him some love. Relatively new channel. And then Coach had a great what is it like playing in an AOS tourney on his journey to LVO that I really enjoyed. So yeah, that's all I got.
Nice. My picks are things you cannot watch right now, but you shouldn't miss when they happen because they're both future things. We're going to keep the Coach love going because Coach is doing two things I want to talk about. I'm breaking my own rule with two things. First off, he's going to do a Git show with the Iron Gutsman himself. Look, I'm going to be tuned in for that one. That's a can't miss right there, okay? That is a can't miss. Secondly, we would be remiss if we did not talk about the most powerful pair coming together, the Wonder Twins activating of AOS Coach and Jack from Rerolling Ones. The peanut butter and chocolate coming together to make the delicious Reese's Peanut Butter Cup that is their new show they're doing together. Finest Hour premieres in just a couple weeks. If you're not hooked into Coach, this is going to be, I cannot imagine how fun this is going to be. Jack is an awesome guy. Coach is an awesome guy. They're just going to have a loose show talking about things. So we've got some hefty competition coming in there, I'm sure. I can't wait to watch that. So check it out.
Incredible name. Such a good name.
Absolutely. They nailed it right there. All right. With that, gentlemen, let's talk a little hobby time, shall we? Okay. Matt, I have a sneaking suspicion I know where most of your hobby time has gone lately, into the tournament prep. But have you had a chance to actually paint anything on the table?
About a month.
Well, you broke up a little there, Matt. Like that was a little choppy.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I'm thinking I maybe turn.
There you go.
Better.
There you go.
Better.
All right,
There you go.
here we go. God, I was so freaking afraid of getting dropped. All right. So recently, I've been focusing on everything TO based. It's all, for the most part, been terrain, setting up awards. I'm looking at boxes full of lanyards and packs and prize support and charity raffle gear and everything else I could possibly think of. But the last thing I put any paint on was some Chosen not too long ago, which I will be eager to put some more paint on soon. I think it's just like anything else. You do too much of one thing and you miss the other. If I don't TO for a while, I miss that aspect of the hobby for me. And then if it's I get to paint a lot, and if I don't get to paint a lot, then I start itching the idea of putting paint on models. And then if I don't play, it's I want to roll dice. So it just goes in this vicious circle. It keeps me coming back for more.
I love it. I love it. And by the way, your voice quality is great now. So yeah, it was just the video thing was a problem apparently. Yeah, you're perfect. You're coming through crystal clear. All right. Tyler, what about you, buddy? You got anything on the table?
I do. So tomorrow is Hobby Hangout, painting hangout. I'm enjoying that so much every other week. Haven't done anything. Been getting a lot of games in with Nurgle. Loving my variety pack list. A little bit of everything. It's awesome. Making the Guo work, dude. I think I told you he killed 9. Speaking of Chosen, Matt, a Guo one-shotted. He had 9 remaining Chosen, took out 8, and then 1 decided peace out. Just stacking, everything, throwing the kitchen sink at those Chosen. Quicksilver Swords, Stream of Corruption, Monstrous Flesh, Rampage. It was a beautiful sight.
That's impressive. I didn't give much respect to the Guo. I think I need to relook at that War Scroll, apparently, huh?
He's sneaky good. I feel like we should do a show on sneaky good War Scrolls. I mean, obviously, he hates minuses to hit. He's got that 4s to hit rocking that everybody hates. But yeah, I'm finding ways to make him work. He's a lot of fun.
I think that's the great thing about Nurgle these days, because no more flies being, superior to everything else in the book. And so now you see variety, and you start to see that there's a lot of, unique things in there that can work. People just haven't tried them because the easy button has been on those Blight Lords.
Yep,
could not agree more. I am so glad the flies are not the default anymore. We'll see if my original prediction on Nurgle comes true. All right, my hobby time has been solely dedicated to this little fellow, but he's coming along. So this is number 2 out of a unit of 3 for Golden Demon, which means this project takes forever because every detail has to be perfect. And so it is very slow going, but there will be a video that comes out of this guy, not about painting the whole fig. That would be 72 hours long, and everybody would just die when they watched it. But there will be a video that comes out of it that I'm pretty excited about. So that won't be for a while because I've got to finish him before I do the video. So yeah, we'll get there. But that's been all of my hobby time. I mean, I'm probably you can probably see around roughly where this guy is. Like his skin is all done, and some of his clothes are done, and his hair and stuff is done. And this has got to be 60, 70 hours into this guy so far. Okay.
Vince, do you feel that your focus on painting has shifted over the years to be more quality over quantity? Like, you've got probably a ton of armies, I'm sure, and at this point, there's probably some aspirations of a significantly high painting quality award / self-satisfaction. Do you get into a mode where you just want to paint 200 figures as fast as possible anymore, or is it always at this point, hey, I want to paint something and painting as nice as I possibly can?
That's a great question. And your earlier answer you gave about the painting versus the TOing or whatnot, it's the same push and pull. It's exactly the same thing for me. Honest answer. Like after this project, after I'm done with this sort of Golden Demon thing, the last thing I need to do, and I've got, 5 weeks left, 6 weeks left, something like that, whatever it boils down to, will be like absolutely just a couple things that are fast and free and give me a couple hours to paint a couple models or, whatever. Because it wears you down. You want to just be like, let's just do some Bob Ross stuff. Let's just get into it. Let's paint some happy trees, You want to relax. And there's the problem with painting for something like Golden Demon is there's no relaxation. Painting stops being fun or relaxing. Right? It's constant. You have to be like dialed in 1,000% to every brushstroke. And Whereas when you're just having fun, you don't have to do that. You can just play around. And so it absolutely, I ping pong back and forth. That's the answer.
Yeah.
That was a very long-winded answer, but you hit upon something deep in my soul there.
It's a good
all
time
right.
to be painting happy trees, incidentally, my friend.
Yeah.
It's a very good time to be painting happy trees. There's so much incredible variety out there with the lists that are doing well, including Oakenbrow.
Well,
Just crazy.
It's great to hear. I've already got my Sylvaneth army. I've already painted a bunch of
Okay.
happy little trees.
Well, there you
so
go. There you go.
I can roll out
Good
them
to go.
Sylvaneth anytime I want. I mean, I've got like 5 tree lords, homie. I'm ready for Oakenbrow. Let's do
We're ready
this.
to rock and roll. Yep.
Okay. So, with that, folks, I think it's time to turn to our topic for the night. Let's talk about the current meta, and to do that, we are going to look through the lens of the Lonestar GT, run by Matt, and we've got a sample of lists here. We're going to review it. We're going to talk about what we think this means for the larger meta. How are people building their lists? What are they doing? What do they see out there? What can we harvest as the emergent property from this? So, this is looking at an upcoming GT. Lone Stars this weekend.
That's right.
It says Ferb. How did no one tell me that? February 18th and 19th. I put tilde 120 players. I know there was some drops and stuff like that, but it's roughly the amount booked in. We wanted to look at some stats and lists, see where we are, what trends do we see. Are Galatian champions going to be a big deal? Are we seeing the return of infantry blocks? What battalions are people grabbing onto? Is it the spam of witch elves and storm vermin and clan rats that we thought might happen, or are people sticking with elite and shooting? How much shooting is there? These are all questions we have. All right. Let's see what the numbers tell us. Well, let's begin with some stats. So I'm gonna zoom this in here, and we'll just slide this on over. There we go. Slide over there. Okay, cool. So I want to start. So Matt, I brought up the stats page here to begin, and I'll just take a look here. And you provided this, so thank you for these stats.
Yeah, thank Mr. Chris Creech, one of our members down in Houston, who put this together a couple weeks ago, or no, about a week ago. Yeah.
Nice. So it looks like we got 39 Order players, 26 Chaos players, 28 Destruction players, and 16 Death. So there you go. Thank you, Chris. This is good stuff. With our number one faction being Stormcast with 13 players, then Nighthaunt, Ogres, and S2D with 11, Lumineth at 8, Ironjaws at 6, and so on down the line. Let me tell you let's talk about the zeros. 0 Big Wop, Bone Splitters, KO, Korn, OBR, or Slanesh. You will not be missed in some of those cases. I'll tell you what shocked the heck out of me. 4 Sons of Behemoth players. Woo! What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I was amazed.
I played them 2 nights ago. Gatebreaker, Kraken Eater, War Stomper, Incarnate, and that is not the army that I remember. It was just a sad time. I was sad for my friends. It was so depressing watching the ineptitude of that army. Now, I don't think he's doing himself any favors with a Kronspine, because he was trying to use it as a damage dealer. That wasn't working. Anyhow, it was so sad.
And then we've got a little drop count. Let's talk about this. And then Matt, I want to get your general feelings on the things you see here. So let's move this over just a scotch. There we go. All right. In the 1-drop position, 19 players. In the 2-drop position, 19 players. Then 13 at 3, 14 at 4, and then it drops like a rock. 4, 4, 3, 8 players coming in at 8 with a little spike up there, and then 5, 6, 4, 6, and so on. All right. Okay. So, Can we officially say low drops are back? I
Yes.
guess. Okay.
Yes,
So-
for sure.
When you looked at these stats and saw these numbers, what jumped out at you, Matt? Anything grab you, surprise you, make you think for a second? Whether it be the armies or
Sure. I think the two armies that surprised me the most were Daughters of Cain at 2. That was very surprising. It's been a long time since I've seen Daughters, who still consistently play well, have that little representation within a tournament this size. I think what has happened is, I don't necessarily know if they're no longer as valid because of the change GHP. Maybe there's a lot of new highs.
Nope, you broke up again, Matt. Not sure what happened there.
Sorry. You're basically, I think people are getting stale with Daughters. I don't feel like they've got the same kind of enthusiasm behind them, because the build feels the same consistently over a long period of time, and eventually they're the same style.
No, I agree. I think you kind of broke up at the end, so I think the key, Matt, for you is you'll have to talk in like 10-second bursts or something. I don't know. You were good for a minute, and then it went robot-y at the end. But anyways, I think you're completely right. Daughters has been consistently good, basically for all of AOS, right? And the problem is the book has often been similar-ish. Yeah, sure, sometimes it was more shooty snake leaning, and maybe it opened up more witch elfy and hordy now, but I think it's just been kind of the same. And I think people are just like, okay, we get it. It's a fairly limited army. I don't want to call it monodimensional, but maybe so. It doesn't have as much you're going to explore with it.
I don't know. I mean, that's certainly been the case historically. It's one of the, I don't know, top 3 factions in my mind over the years, where I feel like we just haven't seen enough Righty Pack builds with that army, where you're playing a couple of avatars, you're playing a unit of the Canine Shadowstalkers, you've got some Witch Elves, right? Just mixing some things together. I think there's enough good War Scrolls and pieces and so on in that army. You've got some Variety Pack viable sub-factions, and like Celebron especially comes to mind with mobility, although that's less important right now. This season, I saw one player, I can think of one list over the years where somebody did that and they went 4-1. Maybe it was Chumphammer on Twitter, I can't recall. But most of the list, they're fairly stale. Somebody did go 5-0 the other weekend with Drake Ganeth. It's like 70 Witch Elves, 10 Heart Renders, 2 Cauldrons, Slaughter, a Hat Queen, I think a Medusa was thrown in there with Mind Razor +1 to cast through Shadowstone. So that's nice to see. Would love to see a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question, Matt, just to clarify. This is new GHB, but old goblins and beasts. Am I correct? Is that right? Or is it?
Correct. So right now we are no new gits, no new beasts, but new GHB.
That's what I thought. Okay.
The only difference is the tactics and grand strategies are less point.
Okay. So book, battle tactics, and grand strategies are 1 less point. Okay, cool. Good. All right.
Somebody's been buying the propaganda. That's a worrying sign. Uh-oh. All right, Matt.
No, I'm happy to hear it. That's the correct choice.
I'm dead center. You get some points, but not all of them. And I didn't completely ban them. So I'm in the middle.
That's a whole other debate, but that's not a bad call in my mind. Yeah, for what it's worth.
Okay, cool. Well, let's dig into some lists. And Matt, let's see. Matt, I've got the majority of the picks for you. We'll see how your internet holds up. I'll read through the list, and then you can give me your sort of read on them. Let's talk about lists. We picked some of our favorites. We're going to review them, talk about what we think. Some of them we just think are cool. Some we think are indicative. We'll talk about all those kinds of things. Okay. So we start off with Ben Richardson. Ben is bringing some Lumineth Realm Lords with Helon subfaction. And he's got a Lore Seeker, he's got a Lord Regent, and he's got a Cathalar. Then we got 10 Wardens and 20 Wardens. Then we got 20 Sentinels, 20 Sentinels, 20 Sentinels, and a Ballista, along with everybody's favorite, the Rune of Petrification. Who doesn't love the Rune of Petrification? Okay. So obviously we this is the list that says, yeah, shooting's back.
Yeah.
And fits into a 1-drop, easy peasy lemon squeezy, 1970 points, likely to get its triumph as well. Matt, what's your take on this one? What made you pick this one? Let's see how your internet holds up.
Okay, just give me a hand up if it needs to stop. But I think this list significantly changes some of the meta that people can bring, because the amount of output that Ben takes with him here is so significant that he can sit back and wait for you to come to him. The lack of need to have board control in this new GHB because of the condensed objectives and the lack of number of objectives makes this a really interesting build, in that if he deploys well, there's a good chance he can take off half of your army before you really have a chance to potentially do enough damage into him where he can where you can turn the tide.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that he only has presumably one real screen and 10 Wardens, which maybe are not going to be in Shining Company. Yeah.
He's got 10 and 20. He's got 30 total.
Oh, yeah. I missed it. There we go. Okay, good. Yeah. All right. I'm like, how in the heck is he? I mean, like, I know the plan is to shoot you off, but good Lord.
Right.
If you only got, okay, so that makes more sense. Yeah, that's enough to give you a decent rep. With screening that out, if needed, you could just do the bow tie on the 10 instead of doing them in Shining Company, get you even better coverage. Yeah, it's interesting seeing this with the 60 instead of obviously what's been the go-to techless and 30 to 40 Sentinels plus 5 Wind Seekers. So yeah, what's better, 60 Sentinels or techless and 30 Sentinels? Obviously, they're both pretty good right now.
In a mirror match, who do you think would win?
Right. I mean, I would guess techless. Yeah, like techless to me still feels like if I'm trying to just lean into raw efficiency, I would still go techless and 40 Sentinels rather than this. But
both a good problem to have.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah,
for them anyways, not for your opponent.
Yeah, I don't know. My money might be on this list. Is my honest answer. Yeah. It's just a lot of
because
power.
he has the ability to buff all of the Sentinels at once with the Lord Regent and his War Scroll spell. So they're all potentially, or 2 or 3 of the units of Sentinels are doing mortals on 5s. He's got extra range because of his ballista. If he's not killing you with one unit, he's probably doing it with the next one, because he's got, the 3 Sentinels, he's got the ballista to do, the cleanup, and then he's got that petrification as well. There's just so much outreach and output he can put anywhere on the board because of, they don't need, they still need line of sight, or they need line of sight now, but beating and a skilled player too. Shot priority. Yeah, that's why Ben is really good, and he's got a chance to go 5-0 this weekend. He's a skilled player. He plays a lot. When you have that skill set and you know what to shoot, it makes it really tough on your opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, Lumineth are one of the most, arguably the strongest army. They're up there in my mind, like top 3 easy right now in the game with this new season. Obviously, they've been good for a while, but yeah, like playing, they're, as everybody knows, they're a frustrating experience to play against. The main thing I don't like about playing against them is that they force the game into a black and white nature where, like, all is equal. There's no nuance playing against Lumineth with a list like this. You have to, generally speaking, you have to get into them as quick as possible. Like, there's like no nuance around it. Or you shoot them off, or you win the shooting battle.
Yeah. The hard part is that once you run into the Wardens, even if you're able to kill them, if it then switches over back to the Lumineth turn, being in Helon and getting the extra attack for all units that are within 6 of these Sentinels, it just creates this massive firewall of death.
Yeah.
I mean, it doubles.
Yeah, I mean, you can't underrate that. Like, to me, this says a couple things. One, yeah, don't forget you can get 120 shots out of those Sentinels on the turns where you can trip the Helon thing. You know, God forbid all 3 of those units trip off at once, right?
Right.
And, you know, on top of that, you can see his game plan when you look at the combination of the Rune of Petrification, which is just pretty strong, but combined with triple overwhelming heat.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's the spell he's trying to cast a lot? It's overwhelming heat. I mean, he has it. There's a reason why he put it on 3 different units here.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and then Greater Power of Hish is what his region's going to put, which is pick the D3 units, and they all get the 5-up mortals. So he's got so many opportunities to get it off. It's not just that. It's that he can, if he fails on one thing, he can try on another. So the likelihood that he can soup up those Sentinels gets even better.
Yep.
Yeah, almost a little. I mean, the Cathalar is. I think they removed the ability to do 2 spells with the pennies with the Ether Quartz. So obviously the Cathalar also has Darkness of the Soul as a built-in war scroll. Still pretty good against a lot of things. You know, if it can beat Bravery. A little surprised maybe he didn't have a way to do 2 casts with the Cathalar, because I think he only has Total Eclipse. Yeah, on just the Cathalar itself, which is obviously a critical spell to cast as well. So maybe a little surprised by that, but. Yeah.
Here's my honest answer. I don't think it's that critical. Okay. I think Total Eclipse is. Total Eclipse is. I think the way Ben's probably looking at this, if I'm Ben, what I'm thinking is, I'll put up Total Eclipse with my Contemplation, because remember that's it's a scenario, so they can either once a game, just cast it off, right?
Yeah.
So like the round he needs to do that, he'll do that. Right, the round where he wants to drain his enemy out. But what he's really trying to do is just slow them down from getting in the castle. What he wants is the Rune and the overwhelming heat to land, slow him down, right? If he gets 1 extra round of shooting before anyone raids the castle, he wins. That's it. That's all he has to think about, right? And so he needs the Total Eclipse up in that round so they can't trip a run to 6 and re-roll a charge or whatever, right? And then they lose things to Battle Shock as well, right? So not that I'm sure he won't roll for it in other rounds or whatever, but if he can buy himself 1 extra round by slowing him down, he wins the game. That's it, and that's the round he needs to have Total Eclipse on. Because you're just dead by that point.
Yeah, you have to win by turn 2, or else you're gone.
Yep. Can we just talk about one last thing I want to mention here on Ben's list before we leave it behind? So, sharpshooters didn't work, huh? Like, when nobody wants that. Because if any list you would think would take sharpshooters, it would be something like this.
Right.
Right? Like, you've got 3 units that could very easily, in numbers of 20, he could take one of them, point it at a utility hero, and go, that guy's dead.
Sure.
Right? That's what would happen. Right? Almost like to a mathematical certainty. Almost. Obviously, Sentinels, I've played against them lots and lots of times. I know sometimes you'll just be like, I guess 2 mortals and 1 normal hit. I don't know what happened, you know. Like, it happens, of course, right? But oftentimes it just means they're dead. But, like, clearly there's no value there. Because why shoot that dum-dum? You know, I'll just kill everything else you've got, and then the utility hero can be cleaned up later. What's that guy gonna do to me? Nothing.
Right. Yeah, I think it's all about target priority, and you're not going to care about the foot hero.
Right.
At the end of the day, they're not going to come into your castle and make it explode.
Yep. Because by staying one drop,
it's the Maw Crusher, it's the massive unit of knights or chosen that you got to ping down before they get to you.
Yep, exactly. You know, by staying 1 drop, it means there's only 18 people at the tournament who he doesn't automatically get to choose priority against. Right, that's the numbers we just saw. And against those 18 people, if he pairs into them, he's got to roll off.
Yeah.
He's got a 50-50 shot. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think the list that he was, that is troublesome for him is if you have chosen, they are Slanesh, they get across the board quickly, and they go into your screen and then can double tap and then pile forward and then hit his signals. But again, a smart player deploys well enough where he makes sure that doesn't happen. He knows his opponent, and you make sure that the gruntas that clear off your wardens are that you're not now in range of that maw crusher that's right next to him. For smash and bash. It's not a very challenging army to pilot, but you just have to know how to pilot it.
Sure.
Yep. So, but very, very scary stuff. Okay, let's go to our next list. Gavin Gregar coming in with the S2D, little host of the Everchosen, with the Day is Ours and Indomitable. He's got the Chaos Lord with the Reaper Blade and Demon Bound Steel Undivided. He's got the Chaos Sork Lord, who's the General, who's got, of course, our old friend, the Arcane Tome, and the Master of Magic, and the Zinch Mark, and Demonic Speed, and Leadership of the Alpha. Tyler and I were kind of joking. We were looking at these lists beforehand. You will never see a more blinged out heroes. These guys are just dripping with gold than a S2D hero in the current season. When their list of like other things they have is just 15 miles long, right? And then of course a Changecaster ally. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, absolutely. Then a second Chaos Sork Lord and the Changecaster ally. Got 15 chosen. 15 chosen. 1, 5. Not that measly 10-pack. Get those pedestrian numbers out of here. 15 chosen. Backing that up, 15 Chaos Knights. Okay, we have centralized our hammers. Oh, yeah. And then we have 9 unmade. Love it. Love it. I was hoping I'd start seeing some people skirmishing around with the unmade and using the utility out of them. I think they're the sleeper hit of the season there. I really love unmade as a weird skirmishy unit that can just get around and its special ability causes a lot of problems. So I think that's super fun. Yeah. And then we've got all that wrapped up into a 3-drop list. Galatian Command and Battle Reg. Boy, if there was ever a call for Galatian Command, it is the time when your Chaos Lord pulls 15 chosen into combat in either the hero or combat phase. Yep. So that's what's going on here. Tyler, you've been doing a lot. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Matt. No, you start. Go ahead.
No, I mean, this was the list that affirmed for me that the meta has shifted to big blocks, low objective count. You only have to control, 2 objectives at a time or 3 at max. When you look at the battle plans in this GHB, only 3 battle plans have 5 objectives or more.
Yeah.
Only 3. And one is the Jaws of Galay, which you lose 1 every turn. Right. So it goes down from there. Probably. One is the Prize of Galay, where you have to activate 1 each round. So you only have 5 on the 5th round, where the game is relatively over anyways. And the last one is Twists and Turns, which is so complicated that no TO would ever run it.
Yep. Only terrorists run that battle plan, Matt. Yeah, there's one.
So everything else is 4 objectives or less.
Right.
Everything. So the days of having to have 4 on your side, 4 on my side, and having to have at least an army that can control, 3 or 4 of my own objectives and go after some of theirs too, are pretty much over. And I think Gavin saw that and created a list that says, hey, I'm going to control the objectives I need to, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. And he's got some sweet tech in here too, which I'm sure, Tyler, you've seen with what he's doing with the Zinch Mark.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, 100%. That reminds me, Matt, I was listening to one of your guys' podcasts, and you and I were inhabiting the same brain, apparently. I was getting so much joy hearing you talk about Kabbalist and Chosen. It was like going down a checklist of all the things that we both love. So, yes, there's some great tech. The Changecaster, it's got a great spell, right? 18-inch range, cast on a 7. You can reduce an enemy unit's save by 1. You can, I think it has some ability where you can re-roll a cast roll maybe once per game, and you can add +3 to the cast for that. Yep. Yeah, so that's a really interesting inclusion. We've talked a lot. I mean, many of us in the community now, right, have talked quite a bit about this, the shift in the game. I've heard you guys talk about it. I think Vince, you always called it like power per square inch.
Yep.
If that's appropriate in this context. Yeah. Especially holding power has clearly gone up dramatically. Mergonk just went 5-0 with 2x15 Hearthguard Berserkers over the weekend at Midwest Bash. Incidentally, Tom put that list together with him. And then we're going to get a list later that has the Quicksilver draft with Tim Protectors, Gallic Commanders, and other, like all these different examples of this. So I have not seen anybody do the 15 packs of Knights and Chosen. That's different. So it's exciting to see that in some ways. I think it's very smart, which you would expect nothing less from Gavin.
This is the first time I've seen someone base their strategy off of Warp Reality. You know, he's marked his Knights Zinch. He's gonna give the Sorcerer Lord that he chooses, most likely his general, the draw on power 3d6 cast, and from there he's basically gonna warp them back where he needs them, and then he's gonna try and get demonic speed off of them so that 3d6 charge, one of the dice rolls into a 4 is all but guaranteed. And so it creates some real significant weak links in someone else's armor when he can transfer that much power over across the board into an area that you're not thinking of. But I will say that there are some caveats. There are things out there who can auto unbind and can prevent you from doing some of that stuff. So it does.
And there's nothing. Well, again, if you were running sharpshooters, you could snipe out that Chaos Sorc Lord. I mean, here it might like Chaos Sorc Lord is maybe number 1 on the board of pieces at the core of a powerful army that if you had sharpshooters, you could take out easily. But if you don't, then it's just going to continue to do that would be a very nice piece, obviously, to try to take out early with what it's doing with Master Magic, etc.
See, I would argue your biggest risk when you centralize your hammers this much is one word, and that word is redeploy. Okay? Because when you've centralized that much power into these hammers, because you're not always going to get off the 3d6 charge, right? You can't bank on spells. He knows that. Like, I'm sure Gavin looked at this and was like, well, I'm not going to get that every time, right? Like you just mentioned the auto dispel and other things. Like spells fail. Okay. Right. Magic is stupid in AOS. That's not like.
But if I tell you I move this little guy first, and if you're within 12 inches of him, there is no redeploy.
Bingo, bango. There you go. Exactly.
The world changes.
That's right. And that's where that Unmade is such a good tech play. Because all they got to do is just walk in the rough area and no more redeploys for you. That's it. Right? And that's why I love them.
Words of wisdom, move them first. Don't. Yes. I know you're excited about the Knights. I know I'm telling this to Gavin, but for all those others listening, move the Unmade first. Because when that happens, everything else falls into play.
Yep. It's so beautiful. That little 80 points of tech just really helps to solve a major Achilles heel with the list, right? Because your nightmare scenario is even if you get those guys up to a 3-inch charge, you didn't. We didn't get our we didn't get demonic speed off. Yeah. Right. But it's still a good charge, and then they roll the redeploy and they roll the 5 or the 6, and then you drop the save because of a subpar roll, and it's like, oh, okay. Well, you can't afford to lose a whole potential go round like that, to have your Knights caught flat-footed or whatever, right? You can't do it, and this stops that.
There's one part of his list that I don't understand.
Okay,
and I know there's a reason for it because he's too good. For those who are out there who don't know, Gavin is a Worlds player, and he's won LVO. He's really good, but he marked his
ITC champ. He's won ITC the last 2 years. Yeah,
he marked his Chaos Lord undivided. And I don't understand why.
So
he can get a reroll on the Eye of the Gods, but do you want something from the Eye of the Gods from that guy? Wouldn't you want?
Yeah, that would be my main guess. Right. Yeah, with his Cataconduit, right? Getting the battle tactic, putting the Cataconduit on the Chaos Lord there round 1 to try to get him some goodies. But other than that, I'm not sure what's going on there.
I assume it's just, like, I don't know. But I think it's just for the Eye of the God upsides. Because he sees that guy actually getting in there and doing some work with Galatian Command. So why not, right? Like, why not get that guy buffed up? if you accidentally pop him into a demon prince or something, okay, you'll if you pop him into okay, hold on, I gotta think about the potential scenarios here. So if you pop him into a demon prince, he'd still count for the battalion, like he doesn't unbattalion himself, okay? And if he becomes the demon prince, he could, who's undivided, because you'd retain your mark, then when he's undivided, doesn't he get to like flip marks or something like that? Or I don't remember exactly what I'm trying to remember how it works. I'm trying to think if he's trying to cheat his way into an ASF.
I followed your advice to throw the Demon Prince War Scroll away, so it's not fresh on my mind.
Like, it's not fresh on any of our mind. That's the problem.
That's how Gavin gets you.
Undivided. Until the end of the turn, the strike first effect applies to this unit. That's the benefit for the heroic action.
Okay, there it is. I thought so. So if he manages to rip him into a Demon Prince, and he's undivided because he'll keep his mark, then the Chaos Lord will pull the Chosen into ASF.
Yep. That's clever. Yeah.
Okay.
Tricky.
So that's like, so he's clearly got the chaotic conduit. So he's going to be rolling on that dude. Undivided both helps him mitigate the chance of becoming a spawn, increase the chance of him becoming a prince. And if that dude does become a demon prince, in that Galatian command, he's cheated his way around the fact that the demon prince can't normally get into that battalion. And now you've got something in S2D on foot that's part of that command that can pull into ASF.
Right.
Yeah. Very nice.
I had to think about my way. I had to think my way through that logical
very
puzzle.
Good, Vince. I'm impressed. That was quite the avenue to get there. Nice job.
Okay.
So the day is ours is keep a galley champ alive. And
no, it's have more alive at the end of the game. So he's got 4 to start with. So as long as he keeps more than your opponent, which I think he's got a good chance of that against most armies, he'll get that triumph or that strategy.
Yep. Leadership of the Alpha, potential triple rally. Host the Everchosen rallying on 5s, of course. So that's nice. Yeah, the threat range of that unmade ability is amazing. So 6 plus 12 plus potentially an auto run. So you could put that wholly within 24-inch threat range to allocate the turning off redeploy and rally where he needs. Yeah, amazing list.
Yeah.
Some real, one of the classic things for good players is they always play to their outs. Right? Always have the outs, always play to your outs. And this list has a bunch of them. I love it. It's got stacks on stacks. Okay, cool. Let's keep going.
All right.
Jeremy Cooper with the Iron Jaws calling the wah. We got some blood toofs. Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. He's the general. He's touched by the wah with the Arcane Tome and Fasten, of course. And then he's got the great big green hand of Gork. So easy, strong access to that teleport because of touched by the wah. He's got a Mega Boss on foot, of course, with Destroyer and Tunnel Master. Who doesn't love that? Who doesn't love being able to Tunnel Master and then Mighty Destroyers yourself right up to their line in the hero phase? Seems pretty good. And then an Auric War Chanter and an Auric War Chanter, of course, double Chanter with Get 'em and Fixin'. 6 Gorgruntas, 3 Gorgruntas, 3 Gorgruntas, 10 Big Brutes, and 5 Brutes. Wrapped up into a Battle Reg and a Command Entourage for a total of 4 drops. Matt, start us off. What's your feeling on this one with Jeremy?
Jeremy's a friend. Obviously, he's with the Everchosen. I'm in the Everchosen with me, but I would say this is just a very well-rounded Iron Jaws list that has lots of play. You can play it in many different ways. You can do board control. You can do alpha strike. You can do deep strike work. That's extremely reliable. I don't know what the math is, but if you put a Mega Boss on foot behind a Lumineth line, there's a decent chance he could take down a Techless with Destroyer on him, especially if you call the wall, which gives you such unique utility and such a non-traditional Iron Jaws capability to be strategic on certain things, that I love the list. I love that he's got some meat up the.
Nope, you cutting out there a little bit. You're cutting out there, Matt. You were good up until that point.
Yeah.
You were good up until that point. But no, I love this. Obviously, huge Iron Jaws stan. Again, Bloodtooths. I've been repping Bloodtooth since the book came out. I think it's just unbelievable power. Anytime you're moving when you shouldn't be moving, it's powerful in AOS. And this list is moving when it shouldn't be moving in so many ways. Between what Bloodtooths is doing to all the pigs, between what Tunnel Master is doing with the Mega Boss, between Mighty Destroyers itself and everything that has, the Fasten on the Mega Boss. There is so much non-movement phase movement happening in this list. It's going to be wildly responsive to what else, to what's going on. And, you know, I think about Jeremy and this list staring down the first list we looked at with Lumineth, right? And it's clearly the Lumineth player at one drop is getting to decide the tempo. But it's, you know, what are you going to hand me first turn when this is me? You know, your point about the Mega Boss with the Destroyer, like, I hope you build your castle without any holes at all. Because otherwise that boy's coming in.
And no auto-unbind with tech, you know, no tech list there to auto-unbind.
Right.
So you potentially be able to cast out of unbind range, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yep. So, like, I love everything about this. This is what I love to see in Iron Jaws. And I think the previous points we made about big blocks of Chosen are just as true here about big blocks of Brutes.
Man, I hope so. God, they disappeared for an entire season. Would love to see them be meaningful again. Obviously, they got a point drop, which they needed. But yeah. What are you thinking on Brutes? I mean, other than like the power per square inch roll. Obviously, he doesn't have Galatian Command here. He did not do that because it looked like he was really wanting to get his drops down. That would have increased his drops meaningfully. But
yeah, I mean, it seems like Brutes to just become a nice third wave, you know, which is crazy. Yep. When you've got all that meat up front, and then you've got enough points left over to have significant units of Brutes to back it up. So when you go into turns 3 and 4, you still have extremely offensive pieces to take down whatever's remaining.
Yeah.
Totally agreed. I would also say, you know, Brute's ability to clean one wound models off of objectives effectively without killing them becomes much more interesting in a season where people actually play one wound models.
Yeah.
We have 11 Night Haunt players.
Right. That's a lot of models that the Brutes can just be like, no, you don't count anymore.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I'd be inclined personally, I don't know, to make those 5 Brutes. He's got actually 10 points left over. So are the Ard Boys 80 points right now? He could make 2x5 Ard Boys if they're 80.
I don't think they're 80. I think they're
not 80.
No,
85
I think,
maybe.
Yeah, I think they're still off.
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't remember post the change.
I'll pull it up here, but yeah. Anyway, I mean, if they were 80, that would be the only change. I don't think they are 80. Very efficient list. A lot of threats. Pretty, really, really well composed. Love it. Hopefully you can do well with it. A nice little thing about Fast Nice to do with Touch by the Wall, right, is if you do need to get out of unbind range, you can kind of pre-plan on where you want, in this case, potentially your Mega Boss, where you have the optionality to fasten in your hero phase. Yep. May not be the best use of fasten, right? But you can then potentially get out of unbind range, hit your Touch by the Wall, potentially +3 to cast, and then do your teleport on the Mega Boss or whatever. Yeah, just kind of be a little cheeky thing you can do, get out of unbind range.
Oh, there you go. Ard Boys are 80 now. Okay, cool. I didn't remember if they dropped that point or not. So yeah.
Yeah, so I might be inclined personally to drop those 5 Brutes, get 2x5 screens, then more bodies, you know, against another alpha or whatever the case, so that you're not like screening out with pigs, screening out with some Ard Boys or whatnot. But yeah, good list.
Nice, love it, Jeremy. Good luck. Do it for Gork and or Mork. Okay, Ryan Quirk. Some of these names, by the way, well, you'll see when we get there. All right, I'm like, is this your real name? I don't know, because I don't know the person. It's hard to see because I'm just looking at the thing and I don't know everybody ever, right?
This is his real name. He is Mr. Quirk.
Ryan has a great name. Let me just say that. Ryan, that is a fantastic name.
And an excellent beard to go with it.
Oh, well, double wins for Ryan then. Another S2D list. Kabbalists take what's theirs and inspired. We got the Chaos Lord on foot as the general. He's the Idolater Lord with the War Flail. Sure, okay. Arcane Tome, Chaotic Conduit, just prayers or heal, aspects the champion, Tunnel Master, Mark of Slanesh, Mark of Chaos Slanesh. Woo! That's a lot of things going on, baby. He's a wizard. He's a priest. He's a melee fighter. This dude is like a second edition D&D elf taking fighter, mage, cleric, just at first level. He's got all the classes. He's got a Chaos Sork Lord with Chaotic Conduit as well, and Binding Damnation. Battle line 20 warriors, 9 Cabal to do the easy drops behind the lines for your desecrates and your assorted other necessary things. He's got a War Shrine. He's got 10 Chosen and 10 Chosen. They're just sliding in an easy 1,000 points of Chosen into the other section down at the bottom.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see down here. Don't worry about it. You could have just stopped reading. Fitting this all into a big battle regiment for a 1-drop list. Matt, what'd you think of this one right here? What made you pick this one?
This is actually what I've been running. I think that Quirk and I have been kind of working back and forth, and this has been very close to what I run for the tournaments I've had in the past couple months. But This does very well in a couple different things. It's got a great hammer, or multiple hammers, I guess, with the 2 units of 10 Chosen. It's an excellent anvil with your 20 Chaos Warriors, Mark Nurgle. You have enough reliability in your spell casting from your Sorcerer Lord, or your, I guess would be Chaos Lord, because now he's got Arcane Tome. I would have liked to seen him go ahead and put Arcane Tome onto the Sorcerer Lord, because you want to put your 3d6 casts on the guy doing +1 to wound, +1 to hit.
Right.
And then give him an extra spell so he can do Mystic Shield or one of the other, decent ones in the Spell Lord based on need. I think that the War Shrine originally, when it first dropped, I was very unhappy. I have 3 of them, all converted to look fancy. And after running it a few times, it has such great utility with the Chosen that it is hard not to put that into your list.
Yeah, man. Obviously, I mean, the thing that's kept me away from it is just how lucky do I feel this game on rolling 3-ups. Now, have you had games where you just haven't been able to roll 3-ups and you're getting enough other value out of it, or what's the situation?
The benefit is if you don't get the 3-up, right, you still have utility from the War Shrine, because it still gives you the 6-up mortal or 6-up ward for everything it didn't make the charge. It still has reasonable damage output at the end of game when you need to go kill that one hero off that one objective that's still alive.
Well, it's like 8 total attacks, like 4 attacks, both 2 damage. One's got some rend.
Exactly. And the crux to this army is it has to get those Slanesh Chosen across the board and into the things that they can delete, and they will delete it, especially with the banner of burning or screaming flesh, the Slaneshi banner. So the only thing I think we could agree here is some unmade instead of the Kabbalists for one of the units would have been nice to pin your opponent in place. Then you auto 6 your Chosen on their run, then they run and charge, and hopefully they even get the 3d6. Pile in, attack twice. They just turn into this lawnmower. You just see this nice skid mark across the middle of the table where they just ran through whatever it was that they just touched. And then the next turn, you probably do it again. And even if you don't get the 3d6 charge off, it's still worth its weight. And there's just enough utility out of the War Shrine to make it worth the risk, because like we've talked about before, what would you turn those points into, right? You already have a massive block of warriors. You have 2 massive blocks of Chosen.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
What's next?
Yeah.
Like, what else are you really missing here?
Personally, I would rather have certainly in this list, the War Shrine rather than like a unit of Theridans. Not that I think Theridans are terrible, but yeah, a War Shrine in my mind with this list. Right. So that's a fair point.
doesn't play into every list, but it's a nice piece to what we're seeing here because of what it can give you, which is throw those chosen everywhere they want to go. And if it doesn't work, then you still got a 6-up ward on your little castle that's waiting to shoot its missile across the table.
Yep. He says, yeah, just couldn't find unmade. Oh, well, there you go. Is that Ryan right there in the chat? Probably so.
All you had to do was ask, buddy. I'm not playing.
And then with Conduit, so he doesn't have any undivided here. We've talked about the risk of turning yourself into spawn.
Right.
I mean, do you think he's just taking that risk? He's going for the battle tactic and taking that risk. I mean, maybe Ryan, you could say, yeah.
You put it on the chosen. Your chaotic conduit just goes onto your chosen. You're just trying to get them more rend.
Yep.
Well, they're not undivided.
The chaotic conduit can go on. Right, but the chaotic conduit doesn't have to go. It's a spell that doesn't have to go onto an undivided unit.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
you put it onto any mortal with Mark of the Gods keyword, and once you hit it, then you roll. So you're literally just trying to soup up those chosen as much as possible. I've had it multiple times, unless I played it wrong, where you've got -2 rend on those guys, and it gets dirty.
Let's see. I don't. Yeah, no. All right, I'm gonna call you out here, Matt.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, the Chosen Man, they do not have Eye of the Gods keyword built in. They acquire it through being undivided. Now, of course, they get to roll through their War Scroll. They get to roll through the rewards of Chaos. They get to roll pregame.
Okay,
yeah.
I've been doing the pregame thinking that they had that because they're rolling for it automatically to start the game, but I guess they just don't get to keep it. Fair enough. Well, I didn't win any big tournaments, and I'm running this one, so.
No, right on. Easy mistake to make. But yeah, so that's one little thing. Vince is giving me a hard time about that. My unscaveny ways of not liking any kind of risk. And so I don't like that about his list because there's some potential risk with Chaotic Conduit there. So, but in general, it's a good list. Really
I'm assuming you could put it on the Warriors if you wanted to. I mean, I guess you have to take 2 spells. What else would you take? Binding Damnation, and they don't have any. There's nothing mounted. No demonic speed.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's mainly just the risk that against it. Anyway, it's a minor point, but yeah, great list.
I say risk it for the biscuit. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, sure.
Roll them bones. It's a dice game, baby. All right. No, it's great. Good stuff. All right, let's keep moving. Boom, boom. Next, we've got Kel Pig bringing in the Night Haunt. The Quicksilver Dead. With the Deazars and Bloodthirsty. We've got our old friend, the Cruel Gas Cruciator. In many ways, he never left. He's the big boy of Night Haunt. He's always delivered the same great buff at reasonable prices. We got a Tomb Banshee. Love it. Lord Executioner. A Guardian of Souls General with Master of Magic, Chill Blade, the Midnight Tome, and Shade Mist. And then a Spirit Torment. I'm a big believer in the Spirit Torment, absolutely. 20 Harridans. So we can Quicksilver it up. We've got 3 Spirit Hosts to run some interference and bodyguard for our heroes. We got 10 Chain Rasps living that deck chair sitting / screening life. We've got our old friend, the Purple Sun of Shaiish, the thing that Night Haunt don't care about. They can just fight in the sun. And then we got 10 Bladegeist Revenants. And of course, very, very important, pulling up the rear with the 2 Chain Ghasts, broadcasting out that big +1 to hit because Mr. Spirit Torment is around. So, that's the list. Solid all the way through. Love it. Matt, what made you pick this one to call out?
The reason why, I guess there was 2 reasons why I called this one out specifically. One, Kel Pig took out Bill Souza at a GT earlier in the fall, which is no small feat, so I know he means business. Number 2, he was the only of the 11 Night Haunt players that chose the Quicksilver Dead.
Yeah.
Love it.
The rest of them chose the different sub-factions. So I thought it was great to see an experienced player do something outside the normal meta. And then when you pick apart this list, it has strengths across the board for the Night Haunt. Lots of units, lots of charging. It's just a very high skill list that needs to have a good pilot, and he is. And I would expect him to do rather well. I think that there's not a ton of things out there that have wards, but I think that if in the right hands, he can put those Harridans, which negate wards based on their subfaction with the Quicksilver Dead, into the right targets and do really well.
Obviously, I mean, two of the top armies in the game, right? They've got wards usually, Lumineth and Slaves in Darkness, or quote unquote wards with Slaves in Darkness.
Right.
Nurgle. I don't know how many Nurgle you guys got. Like 4 Nurgle, maybe. Not a
No,
ton.
more.
I think it was
More?
8.
8.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So, yeah, I was looking at this the other day, Matt, and I mean, that's a fair number of armies that have some kind of ward that they can rock up.
Right.
So I love that. Yeah, this is such a cool list. It's just always exciting to see an off meta Night Hunt list than Scarlet Doom or whatnot. Not anything wrong with Scarlet Doom.
Right.
But
He doesn't care about drops.
Yep.
He's got 2 warlords. He's running Galatian veterans on his Harridans and on his Blade Geist. So he's making sure he gets everybody in every time. He's bringing dudes back all like crazy with his Spirit Torments. It's just a really unique, fun list. I think it'll give people some trouble.
So
it's like 12 units, right? This is a 12 drop list, to be clear.
Right.
And,
Nice.
and who cares? Like Night Haunt's one of those armies where you can be a million drops, and it's like, yeah, it's fine, because he has the ace in the hole of the reposition. We cannot underestimate that base ability they have in Allegiance. One of the stronger, and a list of incredibly potent Allegiance abilities with Night Haunt. To me, the one that's actually the most potent is that pick up and redeploy 3 units.
Yeah.
Okay, because it just lets him bait the opponent. Like one of the he knows he's going up against it, but he knows that there's going to be a lot of 1, 2, 3 drops out there, right? Like you can look at the numbers, he can read the wins, and he can bait them in with a unit over here, right? They have to basically, most of his opponents are going to be dropping their whole army, and he's dropped nothing yet, right? And then he can counter deploy completely to how they've set up, right? Because they're done. And then when he's done, the original units he put out as bait, picks those up, puts them wherever he wants them. 0 risk. He effectively had 0 units on the table when they had to deploy their whole army. He's making almost like a good 60% of the field deploys literally blind against him. Like they can't see it. They don't even know where one of his units are when they set their whole army down.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think talked about the things that surprised me the most. It was the low amount of DOK and the high amount of Night Haunt, and it shows that without bounty hunters, Night Haunt are back and they are about to wreck some face because they were very at the G.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned, Matt, that I've had the most trouble against Night Haunt of any faction for what it's worth. It's just the long tail of Night Haunt has impressed me every time. How much value they can get out of, even after the Blade Geists are gone and maybe the Spirit Hosts are gone. They have 5 heroes and they charge you and they get decent rolls. And it's like, oh, wow, now I'm fighting last. I'm -2 to save and they're putting out good attacks. And it's just, like the long tail, how well that army can hold up throughout 5 rounds. I've been very impressed by. The Tomb Banshee I don't see a lot of Tomb Banshees. I was just looking at it. So it's got an ability to do a total eclipse to double up command points, which is interesting.
Right. It picks somebody whole within 12, and on a 4-up, they have to spend 2 command points instead of 1. So basically, you just leave him back there with your Spirit Torments, and he just says, okay, half the time you're going to have to spend 2 command points, and you may not have them if you want odd defense or odd attack. Yeah. So it's not overly reliable, but for 90 points, and you get an extra charge. Here we go.
And I saw you get a +1 on it if they're terrified. So make sure that you've charged. Because I think it's at the end of the charge phase.
It's at the end of the charge phase it triggers. Yes, correct.
Yeah. So you can set that up. Get it on a 3-up. Light Shard's great. +1 attack once per game. It's in a bubble. Midnight Tome automatically casts the Purple Sun. Pop that out there. Yeah, a lot of good tech here.
Yeah. When we originally did the Night Haunt book, I keyed in on the Tomb Banshee. I was like, man, for 90 points, somebody's got to try this in a list, right? It's like a little mini controlled Total Eclipse. And I remember praising it because I said, first of all, this is the way Total Eclipse should have been done, right? Like it should have just been pick a unit within a long range and they double their command points. But that's neither here nor there. I do think it's an incredibly potent thing, because to me, what he's doing with there's a sneaky sub theme here, and the sneaky sub theme is, I don't want anyone to have saves against me ever.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the Tomb Banshee can suppress all out defense in combat. It's a pseudo roar.
Yeah.
Right? And in the exact way that Matt just described. Right? Where if they only have one command point, you get the Banshee off. Now all of a sudden they can't. They've been roared. Right? There's one.
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, you're on your charges. He's got tons of units who can multi-charge, so he's slot machine pulling for the 8-9 for the negatives to save. And then he's got the purple sun. Okay. So he's trying to build a list where he's got lots of ways to get you into a -2 to -4 to save paradigm.
Yeah, and no wards. How
And
many?
then he cuts off your wards with his 2 hammers. So now all of a sudden, against a lot of units, they're just wounds on a no save or a 6-up. And then you're just dead. That's it. Like, if he pulls that off, you're just dead. Lift the unit, you're gone.
Yeah. And when he needs it, he's +1 to hit, +1 attack.
Yep.
Right. Can you get +1 a wound other than the Triumph with this list? There's not a way to get +1 a wound, is there? Because you're 4s and 4s based on the Heritance, right? 4 techs, 4s and 4s base.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, not the end of the world, but I mean, with that volume. But yeah, I wonder if there was a way. Maybe the Spirit Torment.
His Lord Executioner was the only thing that was kind of odd for me. He's not seen quite a lot, but he is, I guess, another Galatian champ, and he improves his chance of getting his grand strat of Deazars. He picks a unit at the start of the combat phase, and they're -1 to wound as long as they're within 3 inches of him. So that's nice.
Yeah.
He's got a ward, but he's a nice little piece, but you just don't see him very often.
Yeah, definitely. Guardian of Souls, wholly within 12 bubble, +1 to wounds. So there you go. Yeah, he's going to be on 3s and 3s once per game, 5 attacks per. That's nuts. Like that. This is very. I didn't realize how scary this list is.
Yeah, it's sneaky, right?
Yeah.
Randall Brasher said Kell's exact words, I'm getting +1 to wound from like 3 sources. Yes, because the Heritans themselves, I think, as they've said here, yes, also have built in if they're attacking a target that's wounded in some way. And keep in mind,
okay, cool.
There's a lot of sneaky shooting in here as well. Like, don't forget Spirit Torments shoot, chain gas shoot. Exactly. There's a lot of little sneaky, like -2 rend, 1 damage shooting. The Banshee, right? It has her little 12-inch scream. Like, there's just a lot of little surprising shooting that pops up, and like, again, you need to just get somebody wounded, so that way the Heritans turn on all the way. Does that make sense? It's just sneak, like the Banshee, the chain ghasts, those kinds of things, get a little shot through, bang bang, you're on the money. And because most of your shooting's on -2 rend, again, if the sun happens to be around already, now you're -3 rend, you just need 1 to get through. You just need 1. And then suddenly it moves your entire unit from, 100 attacks wounding on 4s to 100 attacks wounding on 3s. And the math difference there is massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. Very impressive list. Like, oh, yeah.
Good stuff.
This is legit. Yeah. This is one of the most impressive Nighthawk lists that I can remember seeing. Just in terms of all this tech and yeah.
But it definitely takes a skilled pilot. Totally. I mean, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, used wrong, if the Heritans go into the wrong things, get used at the wrong time, they can get lifted pretty easily in return by enemy hammers. That being said, I'm sure Kell, if sometime this weekend Kell sets up across like an ogre player that's running a bunch of Stonehorns or something, Kell's just going to be smiling from ear to ear like, well, this is going to be a fun one. Let's do this. Just where all of his tricks are just going to be fully open and on point, and just the worst person to catch this. Those poor enemy ogres that are going to be in a bad way. Okay. A bunch of ogres saving on 5s and 6s with no ward save. All right.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Andrew Miller. Oops, sorry. There we go. Andrew Miller with Stormcast Eternal, Scions of the Storm, Hammers of Sigmar. A lot of Astral Templars, but just Hammers of Sigmar.
Matt, were you invited to the conspiracy, the Astral Templars conspiracy? Were you in
No.
that meeting? But Vince and I missed it.
I was
Yeah.
not.
Where
No.
everybody said, "Okay, listen, Team Stormcast, we're all switching to Astral Templars."
What
Let's do
is
this.
going on, dude? Your tournament has like freaking 10 Astral Templars list.
I stand by, the average Stormcast player is not an experienced veteran
Shots fired. I love it.
most of the time. But
Yeah.
but I will say that there are some lists out there that are interesting. I found this one interesting. I honestly don't know how competitive this list is, but I thought this is something unique in that I'll throw it out there, and it's got a few tricks up its sleeve. I don't think that based on what we've been talking about previously that this one is overly powerful comparatively, but it's got some things in it that are a little tricky, a little interesting. To throws out a thing here or there where people may not see coming.
First of all, I just want to shout out how much I love Andrew Miller because he put Prime Time in a Stormcast list back
Right?
where he belongs. We brought him home, folks. He's there with his frog buddy, the Lonestar Master, still rocking. The Knight Incantor, of course, and then the Knight Vexilor with Tunnel Master. Love it. Just getting around with that meteoric standard. Then we got the Vindictors, some Vanquishers, the Everblaze Comet, and four Stormdrake Guard with the lances. Big old pack of draggy boys. All wrapped up, or not all wrapped up, I suppose. No, it is all wrapped up. Sorry. Yes. Because nope, 2 drops. Sorry, I forgot. I knew there was something out of this when I looked at it originally. Prime Time.
Yeah.
Prime Time. Yeah.
Prime Time's out of it. When I read over these, I was like looking at all their drops just because I was curious. And old Prime Time sneaking out there, being the second drop. What a just fun list. I agree with you. Like tuned, I wouldn't want to be going up with this list against some of the lists we've seen already. But boy, oh boy, does this look fun. And just raining mortal wounds is the sub theme here, right? The
Right.
Slann, the Prime, the Comet, and then we bring in the Dragonfire. Like, how much can we poop mortal
the
wounds
Knight
around?
Vexilor too.
And then, thank you, yes, and the Knight Vexilor with my favorite standard, the Meteoric Standard. That's right, I've been a stan for that standard since the launch of that book, okay? This guy, Andrew, looked at Galatian Champions, and they said the Galatian Champions are like, we're immune to range damage. And Andrew was like, the hell you are. Okay?
Right.
We're not having any of that. There's no utility heroes alive after this guy goes. That's it. They're all dead. They're all dead.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like take an example. The list we just read from Kel was impressive, well thought out, like has a lot of play. But someone like Andrew can go, okay, you're in this little castle. I've got mortal wound output. It's not shooting. So therefore I can go after your 5 wound heroes.
Yeah.
And I can drop the Prime, I can drop the Slann doing D3 mortal wounds with Comet's Call. The Knight Vexilor is going to do D3 automatically.
Automatically to everything within 12 of the point you pick. Everything.
And I'm throwing down the Comet from the Slann, not the Slann, but the
Incantor.
From the Master of Magic. And it just gives him like this initial boost. Like I don't know if he can hold on, but that first, hit or two in his hero phase, especially if you're a tightly packed army, which a lot of them are right now.
They're a mobile castle. Like it's a death ball floating around the battlefield. Yeah.
So it creates a bit of a question mark for some of these guys who are used to the Lumineth guys with all their sentinels, or the Night Hunt guys trying to stay in a tight bubble. Like how tight do you want to be? Because he can put a whole heck of a lot of damage on you at significant range and doesn't care about the new GHB shooting rules.
Yeah.
So and it's got 4 dragons. When all else fails, go get
That's
them.
pretty cool.
It's a good fallback plan.
It is, yeah. Which obviously Theo and Jackson brought this back a number of months ago with the Reign of Stars. This was all over the place back during COVID. We've seen iterations of this as far back as like 2019, right? But it's really cool to see brought back. You're right, man. This is arguably one of the best counter sets out there to Night Hunt, is just dropping AoE on
Oh
their
yeah,
heads.
all their little heroes are in real trouble there because they're rolling like a 6-up and praying is what they're is
Yeah.
what the situation all them are in. I mean, obviously the with some like 3 spirit hosts, you're going to position the spirit host to be absorbing as much as you can from everybody.
Right.
But
Right.
even the spirit hosts are going to get pushed by this sheer amount of just rain that's coming down, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say if you run into a night haunt list that wasn't smart enough to bring spirit hosts, which I don't know why you would ever do that, but
Mm-hmm.
my God, you're just dead instantly. Like you're dead in the water right there. I think of something like the Slaves to Darkness list we saw earlier, with the really big hammers. Like on one hand, like the first one we looked at. I'm sorry, I don't remember whose it was. Was it Gavin's? Gavin's. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. I did remember whose it was.
Mm.
Gavin's main blocks are immune to all this nonsense, right? Like
Right.
they don't. They're like, okay, sure, your little mortal wounds. That's all cute, right? The knights even have a 5-up against it or whatever, but they're rallying back strong. But the problem is, the Sork Lords and the little heroes, those guys are very susceptible to this kind of thing, right? You might be in a point where, depending on it makes you really think about how exactly you're going to position those dudes, and they might be, as you said, more spread out than you want.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're a Kabbalist list, you don't want to see this
No.
because you're trying to keep all those guys together.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the healthy weak points of, well, Kabbalists especially. Yeah, is the hero challenge. Yeah, keeping them alive, little heroes.
Right.
But yeah. Cool list. I love the contrast as well with these 2 lists right after one another.
It's fantastic. What a great counterplay into the meta. I really think that, every point we said about people wanting to be tighter, feeling more comfortable with castles, working the smaller number of objectives and objective area on the board, this list plays against all of that. Right? It's looking at all of that and trying to say, okay, well, what can I do to counter that way that people are going to go? I think this was a wonderful pick. I still think it's
fun. Like you're bringing a lot of fun,
fun.
fun pieces. You got like you said, Mr. Prime running around, dragons running around. You got some ability in the hero phase to do what you want to do because you got good casters, and you can project power from range. So,
Yep,
we'll see.
All right, great stuff. Good luck, Andrew, for Sigmar right there. Okay, bring it home for the Barbarian King. All right. So I think that was your 6. I think we're into my 6 now. I think so. Yes, because I picked Bryce. That sounds right. I picked a Gloomspite one. Even though it's the old book, I wanted to pick the Gloomspite one. Just because I wanted to shout Bryce out for with the old book and looking at what the new book is capable of. This guy, Bryce still said, you know what? I'm a troll guy. I'm running trolls. And what I liked about this list, so this is Gloomspite Gets. It's got a Dank Hold Trog Boss, Fungoid Cave Shaman, Web Spinner on a Ragnarok, and then 6 Rock Cut, 3 Fell Water, 3 Fell Water, the Marsh Crawler, Slogoth, 10 Spider Riders, and 10 Spider Riders. So, what I enjoyed about this list was the very easy, simple plan of this Gets list, right? Which is have the Spider Riders be chaff, have a bunch of trolls with +1 to hit, profit. Like this is it.
Yeah.
Right.
I love the simple, almost like just straightforward plan of it. Like I'm gonna march forward, I'm gonna go. One of the things that's funny to me is I think this thing will be so like this list post the new book I think is 2 times as strong, just as written.
Sure. Yeah.
But I wanted to. But I love this as a final send off. I love people who are ride or die with an army that even when they know that they're not getting all their new toys, they still went to it. So I wanted to give a shout out to Bryce for having the cojones to
It's
run
funny.
the Spider Rider plan. Go ahead.
I got a little worried whenever I saw because I actually hadn't specifically looked at this list, and I went through it, and I'm like, is this new? Does he know he can't run new Gits?
Sure.
Because it's all trogs, and which are great in the new book. And I'm like, I had to go back and make sure, like, nope, this is legit. This is old Gits, and he's just like you said, running those trogs, man.
Yep, exactly. So big shout out here from me. I mean, look, it's still scary. Those trogs, those fellwaters, they're still absolutely terrifying when they get into combat. And he can, it should be noted, he still got the old Loon Shrine rules, so he can only call back his trolls because he's got the Dankhold Trog Boss General in Glogs. But still, he can call back, the half-size units of Rock Guts as well. So he does still have some pullback on the list as well. To get those units back once they get lifted. And they're not an easy unit to lift. So between the regeneration and the ward and all that. Okay. Fun stuff.
I finally was watching the show, man, the review, and I'm in love with that Gits book. Apart from the obvious potential problems, I think really obvious problem, but that book
problem
is
being
amazing.
Called, like Squig Herd and
Squig Herd.
There's three Proud Nails, 4 up rally, the Squig Herd, right, and then 4 up.
I'm mainly worried about the 36 Squid Herd because of the critical mass of 36. I think if it were just like 24 that we're worrying about, 24 is probably okay, but it's the 36 that I think is going to be really problem. But that book is just incredible, like the variety you can do, and
What's the over under on community support for Gits over the next 2, 3, 4 months? How long do we go before we're angry at Gits players? Because you can't be angry for the first month or two. You got to give them a little slack. It's
you got to give them
road.
their time, yeah.
Right.
I think that depends a lot on the FAQ.
It's true.
If we fix the right issues in FAQ, I think that Gits book will get a nice long run because Gabapalooza wouldn't be like a good FAQ would be all the things we shed during the show, right? Like Gabapalooza no longer stackable or unique or something or whatever, so you can't like buff 120 shooters to neg 3 rend or some dumb crap like that that just doesn't make any sense. The Squig Herd problem getting fixed, and I don't know how you solve the 4+ rally thing. I guess it just is what it is. But and yeah, I don't think totally agreed, Mason. You're never angry at the players, but you can't get angry at the book. Like, oh god, I have to play this again, right?
Yeah.
But I think with some proper FAQs, yeah, they'll be strong and they'll have a good run. I don't think people will be that pissed off at them.
Agreed.
I'll say it'll stretch out to like 6 months before people are sick of them if we get the right FAQs.
People play Rippa Snarlfangs. Vince disrespected them by completely skipping over them. Incredible little unit. You can buff them in so many amazing ways. Oh, I love that unit.
Oh, did I miss a comment? Somebody talking about Rippa Snarlfangs?
No, that's just me. I was going through that battle tome and like Rippa Snarlfangs. They're just like this perfect modular unit, little unit on its own. You can buff them different ways. Late game, they can go and do some real work. Like the buffs you can put on a piece like that. Anyway, yeah, I love them.
I did disrespect them, as I will disrespect nearly all Underworld's warbands from now until the end of time.
Sure.
All right, my second list. This is one of the other names. I love this name. I almost picked this just on the name of the person alone. If this is your real name, Miles, it's a fantastic name. Miles Askew. Sounds like a film company. So super cool. But at any rate, Miles had my heart right away when I saw he was playing Skaven. By the way, I love when you look through Best Coast pairings. What you see, and I'm looking through BCP, right, is I can look at the subfaction. It's like army, subfaction, army, subfaction, army, subfaction. I can spot the Skaven players from a mile away because it just says Skaven. And then there's all this blank white text. There's just no subfactions. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So at any rate, there were actually 5 Skaven players off the top of my head. That sounds right. And this is the one I picked. I looked carefully through all of them. I will not lie that I paid more attention to the Skaven list than I did to any others because I knew I was going to have to be the Skaven skit stan in this particular show.
Hey, I picked a Skaven list that you ignored.
I did. Saying. That is true. Then I didn't want to do multiples of them.
That's fair.
I purposely did not pick Skaven because of Vince's knowledge, and I would not do it justice.
So this is the one I picked after looking through all of them because this was my favorite. Although I will say I didn't love, no offense to any of the Skaven players, I didn't love any of your lists. I didn't love any of them. Number 1, not enough sensor bearers. Number 2, not enough gutter runners. Like it was problems. Way too many points in heroes that are going to let you down. Like this, I looked at all the Skaven lists and I was like, why are we spending 800 points on Vermin Lords? It's ridiculous. Those guys aren't going to do anything.
This is great.
Trust in your rats.
At our tournament, we So it's a Lonestar GT. It's Texas themed.
Mm.
I put up bounty posters, like wanted posters in old Western films. So if you beat certain players, you get free drinks.
Sure.
If something
amazing.
epic happens, you get free drinks. If something awful happens, you get free drinks. But it takes a feat. I should put up any of the Skaven players goes 3-2. I'll buy some free alcohol and invoice events.
Love
I
it.
think first of all, I'm happy to buy a drink for that player. You can send me the expense line. I will process that and that will get approved. But I think this has easily got a 3-2 in it. I think this could be piloted. So let's talk about the tech here. So we've got the Warbringer with Devious Adversary, the Warpstone Charm, and Flaming Weapon. Okay, this guy's a melee threat, like a legit melee threat. Devious Adversary buffs all his attack profiles by 2. He has the serious attack profile that can spike up for 6 damage and all of that. The Warpstone Charm is going to reduce the save of the people near him by 1, and then Flaming Weapons bonus to damage. So he's just like a little tight package of killing. Okay, great. He also has one of the best buffs that somehow still survived into 3.0, in that he gives reroll to wounds. That's right. An actual reroll to wounds printed in a 3.0 book. Why? I don't know. Because they didn't pay any attention to the Skaven book, and no one in that office actually cares about Skaven. Like
within 13 of 3 or more friendly Skaven units. Jesus.
Wow.
Yep. And he puts out a big bubble of reroll to wounds.
I was just assuming 1 unit or something, but no, giant aura.
Yeah.
So he's real good. And he's like the one Verminlord I think can actually do work equal to his points, because he has immense utility and he actually hits hard when you give him Devious Adversary. So Tyler, you're looking at his attack profile. Remember, all of that attack profile is up by 2 anytime he attacks.
Up by 2. Yeah, this guy's incredible. Why the hell I've played against Skaven a lot. I've never played against this guy. It's always the others.
Because everyone always takes the Deceiver, because you can teleport to within 6 inches away. And rule breaking is fun. Which is where a lot of people I saw trying to... That's correct. Warpstone Enjoyer said he counts himself. So remember, Tyler, it's only 2 units. He's counting himself for that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now, at any rate, he's a threat. Then we got the Claw Lord. Why do we have the Claw Lord? Easy. Claw Lord's command ability +1 attack. It's an oldie but a goodie. If you don't need all-out attack, there's your pick. It's in the combat phase, unfortunately, but hey, it's still good. We got the Engineer because we need an Engineer for what we're going to talk about a little later. And then we've got the Death Master with the Shadow Magnet. Shadow Magnet Trinket, baby, with a Tunnel Master as well, just so we can get real wild and have some optionality in how we're playing. So he can deploy into a unit. What unit would he deploy into? Why not 30 Storm Vermin? Okay. And then somebody charges that 30 Storm Vermin, and then out comes the Death Master, and then there goes the Shadow Magnet Trinket. Now we're always fighting first. We're near the Warbringer. We're making 90 attacks on 3s and 3s at neg 1 damage, and that other unit is dead.
Yeah, because they're in...
Rerolling wounds. 3s rerolling 3s. Or 3s...
Yeah.
3s rerolling, sorry. And
they're in Galatian command, so that's how you're getting the double activation, the Storm Vermin and Death. Yeah, amazing.
They are most certainly in Galatian command, my dog.
Yeah.
And so chop, all day I'm chopping, just slap chopping all day. And boom. He's also got the 3 units of 20 clan rats, fantastic screening capability, obviously, against all the alpha. He's got bodies for days. Each of them regen a D3 every battle shock phase. They also count as verminous units to trip off the Warbringer's thing. He's got the 5 gutter runners. That's my only problem with this list. Not enough gutter runners. Too much investment in warp lightning cannons. I would have traded all those lightning cannons for more gutter runners and sensor bearers and called it a day, so I had a wave 2 and 3. But he's got the Engineer who can now trip off all the warp lightning cannons, so he can overcharge all of them. Those are just suicide machines where he rolls 12 dice. He just wants to roll 1s or 2s, right? And then get 10 to 12 mortal wounds and just zot, that thing's dead, zot, that thing's dead. It's important to remember a warp lightning cannon has a range of 24 inches, so it has a 27-inch threat range, which is a 3-inch move. And
really,
you have
really good for sending them through, for swapping a knot right? Like sending one through a knot sending one back, you get an extra 6-inch range on them. Yeah.
So the key with this is obviously this becomes just a wild, very Skaven-y dice roll, because on the round where he like points this at one or two key units and then rolls like a 1, a 2, and a 3 on the warp power checks, those guys he just levels his enemies, right? Because that's just in a round it's like 30 some mortal wounds.
Yeah, this is interesting because every time I see a lightning cannon, I just have visions of like the rolling the 1, because it's going to happen to me, and you're sure that whatever you've got that you need to protect, this cannon is just going to make it explode. But it's interesting because right now we don't have maybe what we had a year ago this time, which was like big bad monsters running around, where you really wanted like the thing that did 9 mortal wounds to this one piece, Scarbrand or whatever, that was significant. Now it's big blocks of infantry, which I feel have a lot more wounds in general. But I do feel like who doesn't love a good warp lightning cannon rolling that 1, baby?
Yeah, I mean Matthias. Matthias, as you know, Vince, he second at the championship in New Mexico. He had 3 warp lightning cannons. I mean, when I look at this looks like a new season version of his list, right? Like, doesn't have Thanquol, and then he swapped. I think he had the Deceiver, so he's got the Warbringer instead of the Deceiver, and then swapping out Thanquol, kind of basically for 30 Stormvermin, which is phenomenal with the whole Shadow Magnet Trinket, Glacier Command, etc. trick that Vince just laid out. So. This is a really strong list. Like, I could see this going potentially even 4-1.
Yeah, this was absolutely my pick. Of all the Skaven, this stood apart. If it was me personally, I would have probably zotted out one of those lightning cannons and brought in like another pack of gutter runners and some giant rats or something like that, because you got 10 points to spare. Just to have more bodies clogging up the field. I find that Skaven's power is in being able to just like be everywhere I want to be. The only sad part here is he really couldn't fit in Slink, because I do find Slink to be the most powerful thing in the army. But hey, you got to make sacrifices somewhere. But overall, I absolutely loved this list. I thought it was great. I would make some tweaks, but I think this is a very strong Skaven list that was using a lot of fun tricks and plays very Skaven-y. When he has a good game, he will wreck his enemy. You talk about doing the 9 mortals. I'd point those 3 lightning cannons at those 15 chosen and be like, let's roll some 1s and 2s, baby. Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to melt that unit. That's a big unit, but let's see how big that unit is when it's taken 36 mortal wounds.
Right.
Because in every Skaven player's mind, each one of those cannons is just 12 mortal wounds as well, by the by. Like, that's absolutely true.
Yeah. And you're Skaven, you'll just ignore the 5-up rally that they have. That doesn't matter. It's fine.
Irrelevant.
It's fine.
Right. Irrelevant.
It's completely irrelevant.
I'll shoot him again. Just
shoot him again.
Just give me time.
All right. Hey, look, there's only like 3 of them left after that first round of shooting after my 36 mortal wounds, so it's fine. We're good. All right. So good stuff. Good luck, Miles. I'm excited. Okay. Jonathan, not even going to attempt your last name, but there it is. I did look very carefully to make sure I typed it correctly.
It was Jonathan Schleesis, and he went 5-0 last year at the Lone Star Grand Tournament with OBR. Nice. So I'm happy you picked him, because he's a very good player of ours, and this is the first time I've seen him run SOB.
Wow.
This is the Suns pick of the tournament right here. I could smell a good player a mile away with this list pick. I looked at all the Suns lists as well, obviously very carefully. Another army I have a deep and abiding love for, and was thinking about playing in this current season, because screw you, Dad, you can't tell me what to do. So anyways, I looked at all of them, and then I saw this list, and I saw a man who not only knows how to do math, okay, number 1, but number 2, sees the power of just the War Stompa. All the rest of them have all these tricks and BS going on, but the War Stompa has a very special ability. Tyler, do you know what the War Stompa's really cool, unique ability is?
Nope.
The War Stompa's cool ability is that he costs 450 points.
Okay, fair enough.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yep. I like where your head's at.
So because he costs 450 points, I sound like I'm being facetious right now, but I'm really not.
Sure.
Because 450 is a very magical number in this army. All right. When you take 3 War Stompas, when the unit is keyed to have an average cost of 500 points.
Yeah.
That's how the army's keyed, right? Everything is 500 points. You always get 4 units.
Right.
Okay. By taking 3 War Stompas, you actually get a 5th unit. His single man crusher.
Single man, yeah.
Because you buy yourself 150 points over the 3 War Stompas, right? And Mega Gargants are still Mega Gargants. They still do what they do, right? They still count as a bunch of models. Like they are what they are. So it's just how cheap can I get that frame on the table, right? I would also point out that it's not as though these guys are bad. They're still the 2 damage giant with the swingy attack profile, but in an infantry heavy season, most of the time they're going to be at 8 to 10 attacks pretty easily without too much of a sweat. And when properly buffed, like he can just cycle through his best day evers on these guys and so on and so forth. And when properly buffed, when they go to 2s and 2s, these guys do become a nightmare still. They are still a Mega Gargant. When you move them down to 2s and 2s by just your rotating cycle of best day ever, like they do a very what do I want to say, appropriate amount of damage. Remember, each of them can also insta-slay a model out of a unit as well. All the man crushers can also stuff people in their pants. So he's got a lot of sneaky mortal wounds here. The last thing I'll point out about this list is he has my favorite command trait, which is you can only get in Stompa Tribe, which is Eager for the Fight, which gives him an 18-inch charge with his Stompa there, which I value incredibly highly for having a piece that can be very, very mobile. So,
what's the glowy shield do?
I do not remember off the top of my head.
Okay, no worries. Is that the one potentially reduce rim by 1?
I think it's the one where if you roll a 6, it pops a mortal back to you. Every 6 to save.
And I think it does that and reduces rim by 1.
No.
Oh, okay. Is that
no,
a
that's
command trait maybe or something? I
I
played against that the other night, and that was the most impressive thing on the table, was the reducing rim by 1.
No, it's great. I love the reducing rend by 1. Maybe it is. I don't think so. I literally do not remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
But,
Well, maybe somebody in the comments can tell us.
Yes. Comments. Remember what the glowy shield of protectingness is. I literally can't remember. I'm sorry. I don't remember every one of their magic items. But yeah. I do often use that rend by 1 thing because it's incredible. Like, it's just unbelievable how much more survivable it makes your Mega Gargant. So.
And then Stomper Tribe, what's that doing?
It's just that's the tribe itself. Like, it is okay. Cool.
It does a ton. So the Stomper Tribe buffs all your small giants.
Okay.
So all your small man crushers, they get +1 damage whenever they go against a unit that has 10 or more, and +2 damage whenever they go against a unit that has 20 or more. So these big blocks that we've been speaking of, those little Gargants turn into just annihilators when they go in. They get extra attacks on their throwing rocks, and I think they get something else too. It's quite a bit for those little guys. So what Vince was speaking to, the adding of the Man Crusher, not only does it give you a little screen if you need it, but also just that power pair is significant. We've been talking about the low amount of objectives too in this GHB, and who doesn't love a low amount of objectives? But a SOB player.
Yeah.
And remember, these guys have got okay, so it is the neg 1 rend ignore. Or cool. Yeah, so it doesn't reduce rend by 1, it ignores rend neg 1.
That's right.
Yes. And then 6's bounce. Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I love. Yes, glowy shield. It's funny too because I take it all the time and just can't even remember its name. Like it's so built in. I always just say the magic item I'm taking is that rend 1 becomes 0 and it bounces the 6's. I don't remember their stupid names anymore. Because you don't need the book to play this army. It's all the same stats now. You can do. It's the easiest thing to play from your mind. But yes, like think of all of the unbelievable mortals. Like this guy wants to be charging so bad. Every Stompa, D6 mortals on the charge in. All the man crushes, huge amounts of mortals on the charge in. Then the man crushers base clubs against a unit of 10 go to 3 damage attacks. They go to 4 damage attacks against big units. right? It's just it's incredible. It's funny because his triple, like the 3x1 man crusher mob, like the or whatever you were saying, like the actual unit, the mob. That's, you want to protect the heck out of that thing. Like, I'll screen that little thing with my War Stompa, because the War Stompa can take it. The man crushers come in and clean up. And yeah, everything's in a battalion here with bosses and foot sagas, so he can have the free Swift, which is important because the little solo man crusher can't issue himself commands.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The mob can, because they got a champion now. So.
Well, I'm very excited to see that I looked at their melee profiles and everything's a 3 to hit, which is a revelation in this battle tome, as far as I could tell. Having everything on 3s to hit as a starting point. So that's nice. And yeah, playing against them a few times, it's the Man Crusher mob that's always impressed me the most. Just what that unit can do, all the different various elements that are going on with it. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Yeah, cool list.
So yeah, this was super fun. Stompa's been my tribe forever. I hardcore rep Stompa, and when I saw somebody who realized that they could now sneak the extra Gargan in, which is something I had cottoned to as well, and I was like, oh, this is my guy right here. This guy knows some giants. So yes, good stuff, Jonathan. By the way, this dude gets his triumph like all the time because he's 1950. Sure. I just want to point that out. Yeah. He's in Triumph Town.
Yeah, he's a great player. This should be interesting to see. I'm actually really excited to watch him pilot this.
Yeah. On the big club, Vince, is that capping out at 10 attacks, or is 10, it 10 plus 4?
No, caps out at 10.
Caps out at 10, okay.
I mean, why would we get a reasonable number of attacks from our giants? It's
sure.
As always, we get the dumb rules.
Yeah.
But that's fine. So it's just like... Jonathan is going to be doing a lot of work this weekend to prevent the inevitable slide to the 40% win rate that Sons of Behemoth will have in this season. Can we get to the 30s? Only time will tell. I see it as highly likely, but I believe Jonathan will be doing a lot to counteract that this weekend. So, okay. Oops. There we go. All right, now we're to your lists, Tyler. Jeremiah Galvac with the Ogre Maw tribes in Meat Fist. We got Big Craggy the Kragnos. We've got a Tyrant with Brawler Guts. We've got a Tyrant with Brawler Guts. We've got a Tyrant with Brawler Guts. And we've got a Tyrant who's the general, who's got a killer reputation, who's got Death Cheater and Brawler Guts. Then we've got Lead Belchers, some Noblars, and a Lochin the Soul Seeker. Hello.
I have no idea what this does.
Oh my god!
I cannot wait to hear what this does.
Oh, it's amazing, Matt. Okay,
this is like 50% of me. Tyler, I'm gonna let you take this. I'm gonna let you finish. But look, all I'm saying is Jeremiah's running one of my favorite lists of this whole tournament. Okay, go.
This is my favorite list of the entire season so far that I've seen. I've seen, as you may have as well, variations of this list. I think a version of this went definitely 4-1, maybe 5-0 a couple weekends ago. I think there was like 3x6 of the Gluttons instead of Lead Belchers. Anyway, Meat Fist. Remind me, Meat Fist, doesn't it give you like basically +1 on the charged impact hits?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. If you're a Gutbuster. Yes. Okay. So Kragnos, 3d6 charge. Yes. Amazing bubble. All of these Tyrants are now on 4s for their impact hits, but Brawler Guts makes them 3s on their impact hits. 3d6 impact hits on 3s. Incredible. He's got, just that could do so much work against so many armies. He has 2 of them on a 5-up board, which is sweet. Yep. He's got Flaming Weapon on another one. I mean, I was looking at the War Scroll for these guys. They've got they don't have a lot of attacks, but they've got ways to get some nice bonuses. It's like if you pop some 6s to hit, they get a lot more interesting as well. I think they're going to do potentially amazing work in a number of matchups. That's the long and short of it. It's just all about Tyrants
and charging. Gotta charge, and there's
ABCs.
mortals everywhere.
Yeah, like let's just run through the simple math of this so that everybody really gets it. You exactly said Death Cheater and Grit Feather Charm give the two of them a 5-up save, right? Then he's also got the Tunnel Master if he needs to do that trick. Okay.
Yep.
And then one of them has Flaming Weapon, so it can be slightly
with a boat. Yeah, with a boat.
With
tooting him around.
Yeah, so like multiples of them can teleport, multiples of them have 5-up wounds. We've got lots of optionality. But here's the raw math. His average charge roll's a 10. Okay.
Yeah.
And he does mortals on a 3-up, right?
Yep.
Oh, which means he gets 6 point something. We're going to be a little generous. We'll call it 7 mortal wounds when he charges. Okay, it's not exactly true, but we'll say it's true. All right. So if he's landing charges with all 4 of them every time he can charge, he does 28 mortal wounds in the charge phase. You don't need to fight that well when you do 25 to 28 wounds every charge phase, just between your 4 heroes. Like the rest of the army is just like there for spice. You're just killing people in the charge phase. So that's it.
Talk to me about his endless spell. Why Lashan?
So he can toot around the tyrant with the arcane tome and then still do everything else like move and things like that after it.
Yeah, just pushes him around a little easier.
Yeah, 3d6 coming off of Laoshan with Kragnus is in range.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like sharpshooters does not exist in the meta right now for all intents and purposes. And he's got a decent number of battle line that can prevent them from getting shot. They're obviously great galley champs. Like I don't know. I think it's an absolutely fascinating list. That could really
be clear, the lead belchers just float around behind the tyrants and act as like a you can't target me thing, and then put some shots out irrelevantly, right? Like who cares? Like, you get a couple wounds here and there off the lead belchers, and then by the way, they can charge too and toss some more mortal wounds on the pile.
Yeah,
that's all. Because they're still doing it on 4-ups because they're in Meat Fist, because they have at least 2 models and or 3 models or whatever. Sorry, and they're in Meat Fist, so they're still on 4-ups. So everybody is effectively doing the ogre monster charge in here.
Yeah, mortal wounds as long as you're next to Craggy.
Just Craggy. You got Big Boy's got to stay alive. He's the thrumming engine of the center of this list.
I mean, he's not gonna like the Techless Sentinels list or the 60 Sentinels, obviously, but
no.
Yeah. Right.
I'm personally, I do feel like he's still quite solid in this meta. I don't probably not saying anything dramatic there, but like I still think he's attractive.
It's amazing. List. Yeah, against the 60 Sentinels list, that's a real oof there. But sure, barring that kind of a case, he is generally tough enough that he'll stick it out and live. So okay.
Yeah. It's a fun list.
It's super fun. I freaking love this. I want to see. I can't wait and gosh, I hope this guy's game 1 is against somebody who doesn't understand how this all works.
Right.
Just so he can explain it. And they'll be like,
the great part is that Jeremiah Gavlak he's essentially one of the OGs of Texas. He's part of the Hangover Heroes group, and they're great. They come to party.
That's fantastic. Yeah, he'll explain this. The person will be like, okay, I get it. You do some mortal wounds in the charge, and then he'll do it. And there's a difference between that. That's when that person will learn the difference between hearing the words and seeing the thing, right? And they will believe. All right, great stuff. Ashley Hayden with Sylvaneth. I'm just going to read through it quickly, and then Tyler, hand this directly over to you. Heartwood. Grand Strategy, Survivor's Instinct. Inspired season is The Reaping. The Rippin' and the Terran. The Rippin' and the Terran. Knight Zephyros. Alariel the Everqueen. There's your hero pack. We're done. 6 Kurnoths with great bows. 5 tree revs. 5 tree revs. 5 archers. And a Spite Swarm Hive. Okay. All wrapped up in a battle ridge, so 1 drop. Tyler, go.
Yeah. Do you guys remember offhand Survivor's Instinct? What's that do? That's one of the GHP ones, yeah? Let me pull it up here.
Survivor's Instinct.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's one of the GHB Grand Strats. Survivor's Instinct, when the battle ends, completes Grand Strat, if the model picked to be your general is a galley champ, that model is contesting an objective wholly outside your territory. Okay, and then what's the general?
The Arch Revenant is her general. Yes, sorry.
Arch Revenant, cool.
Alariel, Arch Revenant, yes.
Yeah. All right, yeah, with 2 ways to come back to life. Seed of Rebirth on a 3-up and Fueled by Garish Rage on a 3-up, so that's sweet. Love it. Yes, I believe this is number one. I'm very excited that she's running this list. I think Mathmallow did run something similar. We've seen some variations of the Alero list. I'm so intrigued by this list for a lot of reasons because when I look at it, guys, honestly, I don't get it.
Sure, it's 87 wounds.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I don't see, certainly not a 5-0 army, but I know, let's see, Matthew Goldsboro did really well with a list kind of like this at Bloodshire or Bloodshed in the Shires. And yeah, but I don't get it. So, number one, I thought we might see fewer Kurnoth bows in this season, but we're still seeing them a lot in Sylvaneth list. The Godsman Archers are pretty cool. I think we're going to see more of them, so I do like that in here. Zephyros is Matt, I saw so many Zephyros as an order ally in list with your tournament. So I get that, but I'm guessing this list probably plays a long game. It's obviously looking to do target priority is essential with this kind of list with the 6 bows. Maybe often you're bringing out another 3 bows from Ilarial. You've got Heartwood, right? So you can pick 3 targets for +1 to hit, melee and shooting. So yeah, target priority is really critical. Ilarial is your strike and fade piece. So she's going around being a bully. I guess she's getting there, which is exciting if that's true. I'm not sure I see it, but yeah.
The hard part is that this is very much a scalpel army.
Yes.
And I feel like we're in a sledgehammer meta right now.
Yeah.
So it's very hard with that pinpoint, damage output to truly hurt a lot of the things out there, especially because even if you wanted to target those foot heroes, a lot of people were taking, you can't. You're not running sharpshooters, and so it's kind of like, well, what are you hitting with your scalpel? Like, what's the purpose? I will say this, that Ashley's a very good player and beautiful painter. But I kind of agree. It's a list that has a lot of beautiful pieces to it, but I don't know how it plays well into what we're currently seeing as far as what's being brought to the table right now.
Yeah, like you imagine the strike and fade with Ilarial against Gavin's S2D list or something, right? And you're like, what are you hitting? What are you hitting that cares? Right. You go in, you hit something, you fade, and then they rally back. It's just like I'm not sure what you're doing there that's going to deplete them in any way enough, right?
Yeah. And the bows are going to have a hard time doing. Bows are -1 rend as always. They're going to have a hard time getting through the armor of the Stormcast, generally speaking, and Slaves of Darkness as well. Yeah. So it's more. I wanted to call it out because I think it is.
I think she'll really. I think she's really going to struggle to control objectives. Even if she could do enough damage, I don't know if she has the ability to sit and tank something. I think anything like ogres or night haunt or slaves can walk forward and basically take whatever objective they want. She's got movement shenanigans, which is great, but if you're not moving onto the pieces you need to, then what's the point? So yeah, but I think that's kind of Sylvaneth in a bubble. I don't really know any Sylvaneth list that would tank well or play well into what we're
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I know people can fight them extremely well, but it's tough when you have some armies out there who are running, lists that just look like they'll just mow over everything they touch. And you're predicated on jumping around the flanks, and then right now there's no objectives on the flanks. Not for most of them anyways.
So far what I've been seeing, Matt, is Tree Lords actually making a comeback. I suppose they were never really there. Like they never come back to make. Like we haven't hardly ever seen Tree Lords.
You had to be good at some point to make a comeback.
Exactly. But Tree, like I saw a list the other day: 2 Tree Lords, Drycha, Durthu, Truland Ancient. Not a war song, but like just a bunch of big pieces, right? Tree Revenants, maybe a unit of Dryads. I don't know if you can fit. I don't think they had Kurnoths in that list. We're seeing a tremendous amount of variety with Sylvaneth right now, which is awesome. Probably the most variety that I can ever remember since 2016 when the book came out. Like literally, it is amazing the variety that's out there. But yeah, this looks like a last season list. But I just wanted to call it out because I don't know if Ashley, if you listen to this, I'd love to talk with you sometime, hear more about kind of what you're thinking with this list, and yeah, hopefully it does well over the weekend. I love the list. I found it intriguing because I didn't quite see how it was going to get the job done in this new season.
I'll be interested to see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, and then let's see. Then that brings us to our last list. Is that right? Yeah, that's our last list.
Yeah.
Okay. Ryan Manti with Magakin of Nurgle in Blessed Sons, Orgoth's Demon Spew leading up the Lord of Plagues, who's fueled by girlish rage. The Lord of Blights, who is the general with overpowering stench, and our old favorite, the Split Horn Helm. Everybody loves it. And he's got a little Tunnel Master action. 10 Blight Kings, 10 Rotmire Creed to celebrate, I assume, the third movie coming out. They're not good or anything. You just take him because he really likes that movie trilogy. Sure. And then 2 Pluscoil Blight Lords, some Galatian veterans and Warlord. Tyler, take us through this list.
Yeah, did you just say Rotmire Creed are not good?
That's me,
that what
that's
you just
me
said?
being funny. That's me being funny.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're talking about Nurgle. I don't know what's going on with you anymore with Nurgle, so I had to check.
They're the shining point of the book somehow, sadly.
Sure. Yeah, people are very into Rotmire Creed. I've been seeing them all over the place. Yes. So, Matt, when I looked at this list, it encapsulated everything that we at least think is true about this current season.
Right.
Except he didn't have Galatian Command, right? Like I would have thought maybe one of those. It's a bit of a push and pull, right? Because you want to put them both in Galatian Veterans to get the bonds of battle so that they're all within reach for melee, but then you're missing out on Galley Command. Yeah. So
yeah, I think with the Galatian veterans, it's a guarantee versus a situational,
right.
Battalion, which I don't hate. You kind of like the bird in the hand. But yeah, I mean, you could play it either way, especially with Nurgle, because you're going to be stuck in for the most part. Yeah. But I like both of them because, man, the output on double ranked Blight Kings has got to be so much fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's gross in the current season because, again, looking through a lot of these lists, you see a lot more infantry, you see a lot more stuff with 2 and 3 wounds. And 10 packs of Putrid Blight Kings fighting in both ranks love fighting things with 1, 2, or 3 wounds. They love it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see how well this does. I mean, it's one of the most simplest lists that we've gone through tonight. Simple, but I think potentially very effective. Orgoth's remains one of the top pieces. Free command point. He's got basically only mortals with this list, so he's going to be able to benefit from that. 2 of the excellent Galley Champs, the best Galley Champs in the book. If you need Sloppity, you just summon Sloppity, although maybe you're not getting as much benefit in this list because there's no demons. But yeah, Lord of Blights, Lord of Plagues, fantastic. Obviously, Lord of Plagues, +1 attack characteristic, hold within 12, start a combat on one of those big bricks of Blight Kings. That's amazing. You get a little chip damage from the other Lord of Blights, or from the other one, up to potentially 14 attacks, 3/3s, -1 rends. That's cool. I think it's an amazing list. Very simple. Most of Nurgle's battle tactics are kill oriented, actually. Like at the end of the day, you have to be able to kill things, and they should be pretty good at that. Sitting on objectives, killing things.
Yeah, I think especially within this meta, we're trying to find armies that can stick around, and this is it. You're not going to win turn 2 here. So it should be interesting to see how these big blocks do. And you got these little pieces that'll run around and can do some significant damage. And just your attrition on your big block versus their big block usually doesn't go well for you.
Yeah, I mean, there could be, matchups that can slow you down. Obviously, Nurgle hates getting slowed down a lot. I mean, they're already pretty slow. 4-inch move with all of this army except for the Blight Lords and Orgoths. So, if you can potentially have ways to keep the Blight Kings off of, at least one of them, off of an objective, maybe that's going to help you out a lot. Slow them down, some ways of pinning. Like we were just talking about Tree Lords. Tree Lords would be fantastic against these kind of Blight Kings, turning up pile-in, hitting them on a side, that sort of thing. They're pretty durable. But yeah, I like the list a lot. I think hopefully he'll do well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to wonder if sort of the nightmare list for Ryan to run into isn't the Night Haunt list we reviewed earlier in Quicksilver Dead. Right.
Oh, for sure.
Who can easily chip a wound or 2 into any of these units, right? And then suddenly just go in, and his hammer is so well suited to just tear apart these, all of these units. Everybody, so many people here rocking a 4-up save. So it's very easy for the charges and the for the charges and the Purple Sun to just make their save gone. Where they just no save, no ward. Yeah, you got 40 wounds, but like they'll get there.
Yeah, well, they're in Galatian veterans, so they're fighting in 2 ranks with the Harridans, so it's 80 attacks.
Yep.
Just disgusting. Yeah.
Plus
pluses to wound.
That feels like an auto. Like looking at that Nighthawk list, I have no other way, no idea how an Urgo list is going to beat that. It feels like an auto loss to me. Like,
it takes the best part of your army and throws it away.
Yeah,
right. It just absolutely, it absolutely has the answer. Like it's very much a rock, and you brought scissors to the match, right? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So but hey, that's what I love to see. I can't wait to see it. Ryan could end up facing that, but there's only, as you mentioned, that's the only Quicksilver dead list. And there's a lot of other lists in Nighthaunt that he runs into that he's much better positioned against, right? So at any rate, it'll be, that's the beauty of the tournament. You don't play everybody, you just see how the matchups spin out. Matt, hey, thank you so much, buddy. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, even with this shitty connection
good.
here. I hope I didn't cut out too bad, but we shall see.
Oh.
No, you were fine for the vast majority of it. There was just a time or two. The only shame of it is that we didn't get to see your beautiful face. That's making us all sad. But Matt, seriously, honestly, absolute pleasure. Best of luck with the tournament this weekend for everybody who's going to be at Lonestar GT. I hope everybody has a great time, has so much fun. For you Skaven players, do it. You can do it. Come on. And I want to see those Suns player do well. I love all these lists we reviewed, so thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Matt, for bringing out these awesome lists. I hope everybody has a wonderful time. Thank you out there so much for watching this. Hey, why don't you hit like? That would be really great. It's so free and easy, and you just have to click a tiny little button on your screen. Just click it right now. It helps other people find the show and helps us build the channel. Subscribe, by the way, if you haven't already. And if you want to support the show, you can do so. There's a Patreon down below focused on hobby and review and feedback and taking your next step on your hobby journey. There's a merch store down there as well. But Matt, thank you so much. We will absolutely have you back on again in the future. Internet be darned, we'll have you, buddy. It was a great pleasure. Absolutely.
Thanks, Vince. Appreciate what you do for the community. I know people have said this before, but without you, we would be a much more sparse and an uncoordinated group. You are known as the Cadillac down here in Texas, and we love what you guys are doing, so keep it up.
Well, absolutely. The only thing I've been remiss in is not getting down to a good Texas tournament, which is something I've got to do as soon as possible. I know it's a great group of people down there. Every time I've had the opportunity to interact with any of the Texas teams at other tournaments, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's an unbelievable group of players. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you very much, Tyler, for pinch hitting tonight. I appreciate it, buddy. Absolute pleasure. All of you out there, hope you have a absolute wonderful rest of your week, rest of your day. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.